additional $10,000 and $5,000 for free speech TV people. It could be that your contribution, whatever it may be, your $50 contribution could be the thing that pushes us over the top. But it has to happen today. This is the last day of the pledge drive. We are trying to compress these things down to 2 weeks and give you an opportunity to get in there, make your contribution. We'll get out. We'll get back to normal, back to the book reports and other fascinating content rather than just my pitching. But we need your help. We need your cooperation. We need you to make a phone call right now to 877-378-8669 and say, yes, I want to contribute. If you do, there's a bunch of gifts that you can get with a $20 gift. You have your choice of the Proud Student of Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. By the way, this is the only way you can get these. Or a Take Action, Make History rainbow sticker, or the Free Speech TV Pride Cool Sea drink holder. These are all with a $20 gift. With a $50 gift, there's the Free Speech TV seed bombs, or the Free Speech TV superhero tote bag. With a $75 gift, there's the Free Speech TV official hat, or the official Thom Hartmann Program mug, only available during pledge drives from Free Speech TV. With a $100 gift, you have your choice of the book by Lauren Rankin, Bodies on the Line, at the front line in the fight to protect abortion in America, or the Free Speech TV superhero card set. You can collect all three, Deb Haaland, Kamala Harris, and Ketanji Brown Jackson as superheroes. With a $120 gift, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV superhero water bottle or the Hidden History of Big Brother, my most recent book, autographed by the author. Every book has my signature inside, which dramatically increases its resale value if you're going to put it on eBay years down the road. Probably it'll be worth more after I'm dead, for whatever. $120 gift. It's a pretty good book, too, by the way. I think you'll be shocked by everything that Facebook knows about you, among others. $120 gift. The $240 gift, your choice of coming to or joining us on a Free Speech TV Zoom call, a meet and greet, a virtual meet and greet, or the superhero box set, which includes the tote bag and the cards. The superhero cards, and with a $1,000 gift, there's the meet and greet. But the bottom line, whatever you give now, when you call 877-378-8669 or you go to freespeech.org, whatever you give right now is going to be first doubled and then tripled, all kind of instantly, because of these great frontline funders who have stepped up and said, yes, we're going to do it. Isn't that, I am just so impressed by the people who watch this program, who watch Free Speech TV. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann Program. They are HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit delivery service. More info at HelloFresh.com, code TOM. The Hidden History of Big Brother in America, how the death of privacy and the rise of surveillance threaten us and our democracy, by Thom Hartmann. More information at all book outlets. Wild Alaskan Company, 100% sustainable wild-caught seafood delivered right to your door. More info at wildalaskancompany.com/Tom. Cozy Earth, better sleep, better you. More info at CozyEarth.com, promo code TOM. The latest views and opinions from U.S. politics and other fascinating subjects too, including cutting-edge science reports at HartmannReport.com. And Dinovite, a whole food supplement for your pet's immune system. More info at Dinovite.com.
boy, do I have a special for you. Imagine that your $10 gift becomes not $20, but $30. But wait, there's more. Your $100 gift becomes not $200, but $300. And not only that, your $200 gift or your $100 gift can become $200 and then become $300. And then on top of that, it might be the thing that kicks us into another $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000. Here's how it all works. Number one, longtime viewer Steve in Virginia has said that he called Free Speech TV yesterday and said, if you guys hit your goals for the week, for the 2-week fundraising drive here, the $250,000 goal, the $250,000 goal, if you hit that, which is not a lot of money, you know, if you guys hit that goal, I will contribute an additional $5,000. Thank you, Steve. And then we also have another match from, you know, that we've had all along that from, let's see, frontline funders Mike and Andrew, both out of California, that if we hit our goal, they'll put in another $10,000 to Free Speech TV. But then on top of that, frontline funder Sandy in New Mexico. So first of all, we've got the $50,000 match from that long list of people that I've been reading to you all week. We've got the $50,000 match from those great frontline funders. Thank you again to all of you. So that takes your $10 gift becomes $20, or your $50 gift becomes $100. But then on top of that, Sandy in New Mexico says, I'll match up to $10,000. So your $10 gift becomes $20 with the match, with the match from the whole bunch of funders, and then it becomes $30 with the match from Sandy. So your contribution today is tripled. Tripled. It's amazing, right? It's a good thing. It's a really good thing. We need these. And we've got to hit this goal. And we are behind, by the way. So there's a certain amount of urgency here. We need you to be a superhero, please, and pitch in. Now, of course, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, yeah. Longtime viewer Steve in Virginia is going to invest in an additional $5,000. I think I mentioned that. Yeah, I did mention that. So we're good. So here it is. Your gift will be tripled, and your gift today that might push us over the top of that $250,000 could be the gift. Your call could be the call that unlocks an additional $10,000 and $5,000 for Free Speech TV people. It could be that your contribution, whatever it may be, your $50 contribution could be the thing that pushes us over the top. But it has to happen today. This is the last day of the pledge drive. We are trying to compress these things down to 2 weeks and give you an opportunity to get in there, make your contribution. We'll get out. We'll get back to normal, back to the book reports and other fascinating content rather than just my pitching. But we need your help. We need your cooperation. We need you to make a phone call right now to 877-378-8669 and say, yes, I want to contribute. If you do, there's a bunch of gifts that you can get. With a $20 gift, you have your choice of the Proud Student of Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. By the way, this is the only way you can get these. Or a Take Action, Make History rainbow sticker, or the Free Speech TV Pride Cool Sea drink holder. These are all with a $20 gift. With a $50 gift, there's the Free Speech TV seed bombs, or the Free Speech TV superhero tote bag. With a $75 gift, there's the Free Speech TV official hat, or the official Thom Hartmann Program mug, only available during pledge drives from Free Speech TV. With a $100 gift, you have your choice of the book by Lauren Rankin, Bodies on the Line, at the front line in the fight to protect abortion in America, or the Free Speech TV superhero card set. You can collect all three, Deb Haaland, Kamala Harris, and Ketanji Brown Jackson as superheroes. With a $120 gift, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV superhero water bottle or the Hidden History of Big Brother, my most recent book, autographed by the author. Every book has my signature inside, which dramatically increases its resale value if you're going to put it on eBay years down the road. Probably it'll be worth more after I'm dead, for whatever. $120 gift. It's a pretty good book, too, by the way. I think you'll be shocked by everything that Facebook knows about you, among others. $120 gift. The $240 gift, your choice of coming to or joining us on a Free Speech TV Zoom call, a meet and greet, a virtual meet and greet, or the superhero box set, which includes the tote bag and the cards, the superhero cards, and with $1,000
Happy
gift.
Friday, Shabbat Shalom, Juma Mubarak, TGIF, whatever it may be for you. It's the end of the week for us. And also, sometime, probably in the next 10 or 15 minutes, Congressman Khanna is going to call in. And so, you know, and he will presumably be here with us for the hour taking your calls. We'll do a progressive town hall meeting on that. Also, in our second hour, Eric Kotch is going to drop by. Who's bankrolling these white nationalist hate groups? There's some real interesting information about that coming out. And the death cult alert, Ron DeSantis, we'll get into that in the second hour, is choosing not to order COVID vaccines for kids under 5 in Florida because his crackpot head medical guy, Surgeon General for the state, is, is not a fan of vaccines. Honest to goodness. And it is the 50th anniversary of the Watergate break-in. And so my old writing partner, Lamar Waldron, we wrote 2 books on the JFK assassination, the Bobby Kennedy assassination, the Martin Luther King assassination. He will be with us in the entire third hour of the program, I believe. You know, we'll see. About the 50th anniversary of the Watergate break-in. He wrote a book, a pretty massive book, Lamar did, titled Watergate, The Hidden History. So we will be getting to that in the third hour. So a lot on deck today. It's also Anything Goes Friday, whatever you'd like to talk about. And, as I said, Congressman Khanna will probably be with us in the next 5 or 10 minutes. But let me just double check here and make sure. Oh, our quote for the day, the political lesson of Watergate is this: never again must America allow an arrogant elite guard of political adolescents to bypass the regular party organization and dictate the terms of a national election. Right. Also this weekend is Father's Day. Greetings and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. So feel free to give us a shout at we can talk about anything you'd like, including yesterday's hearings, 202-808-9925. If you want to talk with Congressman Khanna, just let Joyce know that, and she'll put you in the queue. And on the other hand, if you'd like to just, rant about something, he is not yet with us, so we can start with your calls. Bob in Otis, Indiana. Hey, Bob, what's on your mind today?
Oh, Tom, well, hey, I've been listening to you for since 2011, and I got to tell you, I could teach you a few things, but you could teach me everything. But
well, thank you.
My question is, I live here in northwest Indiana, and if I look out my window, there are farm fields on every side of me. And that's the way it is here in pretty much the whole Midwest. And I'm just wondering, what is our government doing, if anything, to use our capacity to help with this upcoming grain famine due to Ukraine?
Yeah. I don't know, Bob. I haven't seen any proactive stuff going on. Part of me is thinking maybe we should, I've been advocating for some time that we should limit exports of oil, as we did up until 2016. From 1973 to 2016, it was illegal to export oil. But on the other hand, if we were to limit exports of grains, that would, A, it would, hurt our farmers, and B, it might exacerbate famine in other parts of the world, which I certainly don't want to be responsible for. So I'm not sure that there's any good policy answers to it, Bob, but I think you're absolutely right that, bad stuff is coming. So, yeah, bottom line, I just don't know. Bob, thanks for the call. George in Chicago. Hey, George, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. Thanks for taking my call. Observations on yesterday's hearing. If Mike Pence had been murdered by the mob or spirited away by Trump loyalists in the Secret Service, constitutionally, could the count have been resumed under the auspices of President pro tem Charles Grassley of Iowa? And if so, was he part of the conspiracy and willing to do what Pence was not willing to do?
Yeah, in fact, the Constitution doesn't say that the Vice President shall do this. It's that the President of the Senate shall do it. Now, the Constitution also adds elsewhere in Article 2 that the President, or Article 1, excuse me, that the President of the Senate is the Vice President, but there is a line of secession there. And if the Vice President is disabled or dead or not available, then it goes to the President pro tem of the Senate, which is the longest serving member of the Senate, and that's Chuck Grassley, 88-year-old Chuck Grassley. And weirdly, on January 5th, the day before January 6th, Chuck Grassley tweeted that he was expecting to open the votes and read them the following day. So it looks like maybe Grassley was read in on the plot to kill Pence, or at least to spirit him away. Inquiring minds want to know. I don't know the answer to that, but it sure does seem skeezy to me.
Yeah, and one more quick point. I was puzzled by the fact that in the January 6th phone call that Pence received at the vice presidential residence from Trump in the Oval Office, Trump was speaking openly in a room full of his family and staff. But when Pence took the call, he separated himself from his staff and went into another room. You would have thought that with the seriousness of the situation that he would have put his phone on speaker so that they could all listen to the entire call, take notes, and thus be protecting each other and have common knowledge to testify at a hearing like yesterday's. I mean, that's the right of we the people to know, and
Pence,
we'll never know.
Yeah, I'm with you, George. Pence is being characterized as some kind of hero. And yeah, he had one moment of courage there, but you will recall that was January 6th. On January 7th, when Betsy DeVos went to Pence and said, we need to invoke the 25th Amendment, he said no, he wouldn't go along with it. And it has to be initiated by the vice president. And,
right.
There was a whole bunch of people who quit their jobs on the 7th, including Betsy DeVos. And Pence didn't do anything about that. And all the way through the rest of the Trump presidency, Pence could have spoken up when Trump was being impeached, and he could have put the dagger into Trump. It would have been the final nail in the coffin, whatever terrible metaphor you want to use. But Pence chose not to do any of that. So I don't see him as a hero, George. I don't think that, and I think lionizing him and holding him up as an example of a profile in courage is frankly a mistake. On the line with us is Congressman Ro Khanna, Vice Chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, representing the 17th District of California. Khanna, KHANNA.house.gov is his website. Rep Ro Khanna on Twitter, and he will be with us for the rest of the hour, unless he corrects me here, taking your calls in a Progressive Town Hall meeting. Congressman Khanna, welcome back. What's on your mind today?
Thank you, Tom. I'm sorry I got a little bit late. We were just with the Poor People's Campaign. Reverend Barber has been in Washington today and this week, and is going to have a big march, actually, tomorrow to focus on the things that we still haven't done, even with two chambers of Congress and the presidency.
Oh, good on him.
Increasing the wage,
Yeah, he's a regular on this program. We should have gotten him on. Forgive me, I interrupted you. Continue.
Well, it's things that are so basic. Increase the minimum wage. I mean, the wage is stuck at $7.25. One of the things he said, which really resonated with me, is we ought to be voting on a $15 wage every week. I mean, the Republicans vote on repealing the Affordable Care Act every week. I mean, we need to have the same intensity. We need to vote on providing people with health care, having Medicare for all. We heard from a young person that stuck with me whose grandfather, a veteran, basically died because he couldn't get access to mental health care in this country. So I think that Reverend Barber has one of the strongest moral voices in this country, and one of the remarkable parts of his coalition is it's white, black, Latino, Asian, really the multiracial coalition that Dr. King envisioned with Dr. King's famous speech, of course, in Montgomery, where he said that Jim Crow is something that the Southern aristocrats feed to poor white Americans to try to distract them from the economic issues. And Reverend Barber is really carrying on that legacy.
Yeah, it's an important legacy, and he's such a good guy. Congressman Khanna is with us. He will be taking your calls for the rest of the hour. It's 15 minutes past the hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program. You can check out his website at khanna.house.gov. You can tweet him at Rep. Khanna. He is the vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus and also a member of the House Armed Services Committee and the House Committee on Oversight and Reform. We'll be right back with your calls for Congressman Khanna right after this.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
As the hour, right back with you with Congressman Khanna. And welcome back. And let's see here, Malcolm in Bluebell, Pennsylvania. You are on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Quick question for you. There was an article in Raw Story regarding the January 6th committee being kind of split on if they would actually send over a criminal referral after everything was said and done. Do you have any more info on that? Because if that were indeed to happen and they don't prosecute Trump, it's pretty tough to keep people energized and tell us to get out and vote when politicians continuously, get away with defying subpoenas and everything else. That's all I have to say, Bill.
Malcolm, I appreciate the question. I think Jamie Raskin had it right, where he said that the entire hearing is basically a referral to the Justice Department. Congress doesn't formally refer things for criminal prosecution, but there's no doubt that the Justice Department is watching and they're laying out the evidence, and there has to be accountability. And so I think that the committee has struck the right tone.
Morris in Long Beach, California. You're on the air with Representative Khanna.
Congressman, check this out. I know how to address inflation. Remember when former President Nixon was dealing with the same issue? He froze wages. He froze prices. I'm thinking that President Biden can issue an executive order telling all the oil companies that they can no longer sell oil overseas, just like we can't sell stuff to Cuba. Can't sell all that stuff's got to be sold right here because they make more money when they sell overseas. What do you think of that idea? I'll take your comments off the air because I got to. Thank you.
I support it 100%. Jack Reed and I called to do this 6 months ago, and people say, "Oh, you're disrupting the market." People weren't allowed to sell oil overseas until 2015, and we ought to ban the exports, at least temporarily, while we are in a national emergency. That would help sever the price of the United States from the global market. People say, "Well, we get a disproportionate amount of light shale oil here, and our refineries are more geared towards crude oil." We can fix that. We could have a one-to-one exchange on that. Anyway, the point is a lot of economists have looked at this and say it would bring down gas prices. I just had a meeting with the White House yesterday pushing for it, and they're saying they're considering it, but it's time to do it.
Wow. We have 45 seconds to the break here. Are you and Jack Reed putting together the legislation to do this, or is this something that can be done by executive order?
This is something that the president could do. I mean, we're going to put legislation as well, and we have a letter to the president. But the president has the authority, at least for a temporary period, to suspend the fuel. Now, the White House was saying, well, what about some of our European allies? They can have carve-outs. They can have exemptions. But do we really need to be selling oil right now to China, to other countries in the world? I mean, I think right now having a temporary ban on the export would be the single biggest thing this president and we can do to lower gas prices.
Yeah, you're singing my song. In fact, I think I pitched that to you last week or the week before. Yeah, amen.
Yeah, I know you've been on board with it, but, yep. The interesting thing is Sheldon Whitehouse and I did the windfall profit tax and taxing big oil, and Jack Reed and I did this export ban, and now the White House is at least considering it. But we need to act. We can't just do nothing.
Yeah, amen. Amen. Congressman Khanna is with us. We'll be right back in 60 seconds. Missed my opening rant today? It's usually published over at HartmannReport.com, where you can read it and share it with your friends for free. Check it out, HartmannReport.com.
Remember Paul Manafort? He used to be business partners with Roger Stone back in the day, working for Republican politicians like, Nixon and Reagan. Well, in 2004, he took a really sweet gig over in Ukraine, helping the Russians, President Putin, install Viktor Yanukovych as the president of Ukraine, a nice Putin puppet. That same year, though, the people of Ukraine said enough, and basically Yanukovych got driven out of the country. So they tried it again in 2010. Let's bring, this Putin puppet back into Ukraine, Yanukovych. And it worked until 2014 when they got kicked out. So he gets kicked out of Ukraine, Manafort. So what does he do the next year, 2015? He decides to run the Trump campaign. Are you starting to see a pattern here? Yeah, could be. Okay, there's an entire video that outlines this whole timeline over at ThomHartmann.com. Check it out.
For the hour, David in Columbus, Ohio. You are on the air with Representative Khanna.
Hi, Representative Khanna. I really appreciate your efforts to cut back on defense. I also appreciate your efforts to cut price gouging. I think the Defense Department has been price gouging us for 50 years. So I think we need to look at that. And I don't know if you have any new bills on this, but I'd be glad to promote this with my representatives and my senator. I think the problem is nuclear power and nuclear weapons have been linked too much, and they're killing us at the state and federal level.
David, I agree with you that it's not just that the Defense Department is bloated. It is that the money is going to defense contractors and defense executives in many cases that are lining their pockets and have nothing to do with national security. I led the TransDigm investigation that showed that TransDigm was ripping off the American taxpayers millions and millions of dollars because they were overcharging for supplies 1,000 times more than what it cost when they were basically sole providers, so I had sole contracts. So we need to reform the entire procurement process, not only out for these sole contractors without price transparency, and really root out the giveaway to defense contractors in the defense budget.
Robin in Boulder, Colorado. You're on the air with Representative Khanna.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. Here's a thought that I have, and actually it's more of a question. Now that Republicans are getting a rudimentary education on how the Constitution works and the limited powers of the vice president when it comes to counting electoral votes, Congressman, do you have any concern that this issue is going to be next on the right-wingers' hit list, is trying to get that part of the Constitution changed? So if they don't like the results of the Electoral College, the vice president will have the power to pick, decide to pick the president. And I will hang up and just listen to your call.
And I'll add to that, Congressman Khanna, that just 2 weeks ago I got an email from FreedomWorks, I'm on their list, saying that they wanted to, they had suggestions to reform the Electoral Count Act. So your thoughts?
Well, Robin and Tom, this is the big concern. I mean, they don't have to amend the Constitution to give the vice president more power. They're trying under the current rules to rig the game by electing governors and secretary of states in all these swing states who are basically going to be committed under the Constitution to electing the Donald Trump. You know, I was having a conversation with one Republican congressman who said that the Constitution literally says, as he reads it, that a state legislature or state can flip a coin to determine who they should vote for president, and that there is no obligation for them to follow the election results. If this is the interpretation, and if you elect governors and secretary of states that are loyal to the party, then you, within the system, can have basically someone become president who doesn't win the popular vote. The Electoral Count Act reform is so important because it would stop that by saying that courts have to review any time a state sends delegates that are different than the popular vote winner, and we still haven't been able to pass that through the Senate.
Yeah, we just have 45 seconds here. I think your Republican congressman is right. I mean, the Constitution says it very clearly that the state legislatures can decide which electors they're going to send. They choose to send the electors based on the election that they hold in their states, but they don't have to. We should fix that.
We do. And the Electoral Count Act, the interesting thing is that the states all have laws in the state saying that they will respect the popular vote winner for who they send. And what the Electoral Count Act says is you can't just retroactively get rid of that state law. And it will be hard for a state legislature to pass a law saying let's ignore that before the election. So it's a well-worded statute, but it does no good if it's just caught up in the Senate.
Yeah, there you go. Congressman Khanna is with us for the hour, taking your calls in a National Progressive Town Hall meeting. Congressman Khanna is vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, represents the 17th District of California, Silicon Valley, in the U.S. House of Representatives. We'll be back with more of your calls for Representative Khanna in just a moment. It's 27 minutes past the hour.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Khanna, KHANNA.house.gov, and Rep. Ro Khanna on Twitter. We'll be right back. Last day. It's the last day, the very last day, your very last chance to contribute to Free Speech TV. Seriously, let me say it again. It's the last day. It's your very last chance. And boy, do I have a special for you. Imagine that your $10 gift becomes not $20, but $30. But wait, there's more. Your $100 gift becomes not $200, but $300. And not only that, your $200 gift or your $100 gift can become $200 and then become $300. And then on top of that, it might be the thing that kicks us into another $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000. Here's how it all works. Number one, longtime viewer Steve in Virginia has said that he called Free Speech TV yesterday and said, if you guys hit your goals for the week, for the 2-week fundraising drive here, the $250,000 goal, the $250,000 goal. If you hit that, which is not a lot of money, if you guys hit that goal, I will contribute an additional $5,000. Thank you, Steve. And then we also have another match from that we've had all along from Frontline Funders Mike and Andrew, both out of California. That if we hit our goal, they'll put in another $10,000 to Free Speech TV. But then on top of that, Frontline Funders Sandy in New Mexico. So first of all, we've got the $50,000 match from that long list of people that I've been reading to you all week. We've got the $50,000 match from those great frontline funders. Thank you again to all of you. So that takes your $10 gift becomes $20, or your $50 gift becomes $100. But then on top of that, Sandy in New Mexico says, I'll match up to $10,000. So your $10 gift becomes $20 with the match, with the match from the whole bunch of funders, and then it becomes $30 with the match from Sandy. So your contribution today is tripled. Tripled. It's amazing, right? It's a good thing. It's a really good thing. We need these. And we've got to hit this goal. And we are behind, by the way. So there's a certain amount of urgency here. We need you to be a superhero, please, and pitch in. Now, of course, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, yeah. Longtime viewer Steve in Virginia is going to invest in an additional $5,000. I think I mentioned that. Yeah, I did mention that. So we're good. So here it is. Your gift will be tripled, and your gift today that might push us over the top of that $250,000 could be the gift. Your call could be the call that unlocks an additional $10,000 and $5,000 for Free Speech TV people. It could be that your contribution, whatever it may be, your $50 contribution could be the thing that pushes us over the top. But it has to happen today. This is the last day of the pledge drive. We are trying to compress these things down to 2 weeks and give you an opportunity to get in there, make your contribution. We'll get out. We'll get back to normal, back to the book reports and other fascinating content rather than just my pitching. But we need your help. We need your cooperation. We need you to make a phone call right now to 877-378-8669 and say, yes, I want to contribute. If you do, there's a bunch of gifts that you can get. With a $20 gift, you have your choice of the Proud Student of Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. By the way, this is the only way you can get these. Or a Take Action, Make History rainbow sticker, or the Free Speech TV Pride Cool Sea drink holder. These are all with a $20 gift. With a $50 gift, there's the Free Speech TV seed bombs or the Free Speech TV superhero tote bag. With a $75 gift, there's the Free Speech TV official hat or the official Thom Hartmann Program mug, only available during pledge drives from Free Speech TV. With a $100 gift, you have your choice of the book by Lauren Rankin, Bodies on the Line, at the front line in the fight to protect abortion in America, or the Free Speech TV superhero card set. You can collect all three, Deb Haaland, Kamala Harris, and Ketanji Brown Jackson as superheroes. With a $120 gift, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV superhero water bottle or the Hidden History of Big Brother, my most recent book, autographed by the author. Every book has my signature inside, which dramatically increases its resale value if you're going to put it on eBay years down the road. Probably it'll be worth more after I'm dead, for whatever. $120 gift. It's a pretty good book, too, by the way. I think you'll be shocked by everything that Facebook knows about you, among others. $120 gift. The $240 gift, your choice of coming to or joining us on a Free Speech TV Zoom call, a meet and greet, a virtual meet and greet, or the superhero box set, which includes the tote bag and the cards, the superhero cards. And with a $1,000 gift, there's the meet and greet. But the bottom line, whatever you give now, when you call 877-378-8669 or you go to freespeech.org, whatever you give right now is going to be first doubled and then tripled, all kind of instantly, because of these great frontline funders who have stepped up and said, yes, we're going to do it. Isn't that, I am just so impressed by the people who watch this program, who watch Free Speech TV. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you. Our 1 hour free podcast recaps our show, and it's available wherever fine podcasts are found. And we have the full 3 hour podcast available over at ThomHartmann.com if you want to really support our program. And welcome back. 34 minutes past the hour. Congressman Khanna with us, taking your calls for the hour. Susan in Phoenix, Arizona. You are on the air with Representative Khanna.
Yes, Representative Khanna. My thought is the feds are raising the rates on interest, and I think all that's going to do is benefit the pay cash investors. But Obama had a plan where he gave $5,000 to new first-time home buyers, but an even better plan was, believe it or not, President Reagan, which I took advantage of. He had it that any foreclosed home could only be the only ones to be able to put a bid on it. They had to qualify low income. And all the bank could ask was what was owed on the property. So is there any chance we could do something like that? Thank you.
It's an interesting suggestion. I didn't know about that program that President Reagan had, and I'm happy to look into it. But I agree with you in 2 points. One, we have to figure out how to increase home ownership. It stayed about 65%, and home ownership is the biggest way that you increase wealth in this country. And two, that we made a mistake by having so much of our policy focused on bank bailouts and not on helping people whose homes were being foreclosed on. And so if there are any policies that would help actually target the money towards people who are either facing foreclosures, threat of foreclosure, or have had foreclosure, that would be my preference.
Susan in Seattle, you're on the air with Representative Khanna.
Excuse me, good morning. My concern is H.R. 4853, which, excuse me, would require the FDA to implement regulations within about a 2-year period for home health care devices that would be non-visual, accessible. Things like blood pressure cups, CPAP machines, monitors for diabetics or chemo monitors, which would allow blind people to be able to stay in their home and in their community. And I know from talking to many of my friends, we're all very concerned about the proposed cuts to Social Security and Medicare, and to be able to, even stay in our homes and take care of ourselves and not be a burden to our family and friends. And my question is, I know that many times when bills are introduced, you tuck them into other must-pass bills, and if you could look into it and maybe help us put it into some must-pass bill like the Defense Department that nobody questions.
Susan, I appreciate that. I will look at that. I mean, first, we need to be very clear that we shouldn't have any cuts to Social Security or Medicare. We need to be increasing those benefits. But I got concerned when the Republicans are saying if they take back the House or Senate, they want Biden to start a Simpson-Bowles-like commission. That was a terrible idea during the Obama years, and that commission was basically going to cut Social Security when we need to be increasing it. In terms of funding for the type of equipment and services that you talk about for people of need, I am for increasing that funding.
Rodney in Sioux City, Iowa, you are on the air with Representative Khanna.
Thank you. Great show as always. My question is, what are the three unifying points from the DNC? I mean, we do not have direct messaging. Health care for people of color and poor people is terrible. Public education is a total failure, and housing. I mean, if we don't have three core values that we stand for, Republicans, they're going to clean our clocks come midterm, because we spent all this money in Ukraine and poor people in this country are still suffering. How do we meet the needs of poor people as Democrats? The Republicans, even though they're hateful, they're organized.
Rodney, let's get an answer to the question. We got it. Let's get an answer to the question here.
Well, Rodney, I think you'd be heartened by Reverend Barber and the Poor People's Campaign. This is his message, that there are 140 million Americans who are poor or low wealth, and we need to meet their needs. And I think the 3 points ought to be, well, let's increase our wage, have a livable wage, make sure we have Medicare for all, health care for everyone, and then housing, making sure that everyone has adequate housing and some path to home ownership. So those are the core values, and we need to keep fighting for them.
Nancy in Chenoweth, correct me if I'm saying it wrong, Nancy, Washington. You're on the air with Representative Khanna.
Hi. What about doing clubhouse programs for mentally ill people? Will help get them off the street. They gently coax people into working full-time jobs, and they supply housing for them. And also there's adult foster care, because there's a lot of homeless people that are just mildly mentally disabled. And sometimes there's literacy problems. And so why can't we do more of that instead of just trying to move them on, which doesn't work, because then they wind up in tent cities?
Nancy, you're absolutely right that we need to have far more support services for people, mental health being available. It's one of the biggest problems that many of our fellow citizens don't have access to the basic mental health care that they need. For others, what we need is harm reduction for those with substance problems, and how we actually get them to turn around their lives. But just putting them in a housing or a shelter is not going to solve the issue. And we're found penny wise and pound foolish in some of our policies.
Dennis in Aptos, California. You're on the air with Representative Khanna.
Yeah, it's funny that other guy mentioned the Ukraine, because I would think that the funding for the Ukraine right now shouldn't be coming out of the seized assets of Russian oligarchs. So that's my number one question. I have another question, though, and it's this. Why aren't the Democrats using national security as a reason to vote Democrats, keep them in power in the House and the Senate? And this would be in regards to gun safety, in regards to the health of the people of this nation with the pandemic, and point the finger at corporate America and accuse them of price gouging, especially big oil. There should be ads running 24/7 doing just that.
I agree with you. I was on CNBC this morning making that exact case. I mean, big oil is engaged in total price gouging. They're getting these record profits, and they're giving it all away to Wall Street. It's not like they're drilling more or investing in refineries. And we need to be more aggressive in going after them. We need to pass Sheldon Whitehouse and my bill, the windfall profits tax, and get that money back to the American consumer. Boris Johnson passed it in England, a conservative government. So either we're going to get aggressive on price gouging and go after some of the corporate price gougers, or we're going to be in a defensive posture come the midterm elections.
Catherine in Medford, Oregon. You're on the air with Representative Khanna.
Thank you for taking my call. I had a lot of thoughts about student loans and exploding balances, and I had an idea. Even if all student loans are forgiven, future generations will still be prey to predatory lenders. So my thought is to put a limit on the time of a student loan. Everyone goes on an income-based repayment, and then let's say it's 10 years. Well, every year the total balance is reduced by 1/10 until the balance is zero. And that way, I think there would be less resistance from other people who say, well, I paid off my loans, why can't you? And it'll prevent that continual predatory stance that are going against students.
Well, Catherine, I appreciate the call and your thinking. Let me tell you, as someone who took out $100,000 of student loans and paid them back, I have absolutely no resentment for other people who may have taken out loans and need to have them forgiven. I just think I was one of the fortunate ones in society, but I have a lot of friends and others who didn't get the same breaks. But my view of it is forgive the loans at least for people who are middle class and working class. And by the way, it's not the rich or the upper middle class who are taking out these loans. It's people coming from working and middle class families. And then you need, to your point, you need to have some free public college so that you don't have a perpetual cycle of people continuing to take out these loans. And that, I think, is the best way of solving the issue.
Nancy in Woodland, California. You're on the air with Representative Khanna.
Hi. Yeah, I understand that the U.S. Postal Board doesn't have the votes to get rid of DeJoy, but why can't he just be removed by the president or Congress or somebody based on his financial conflicts of interest? Thank you.
It's a good point. I mean, I assume that Congress may have the power of impeachment. I don't know how. I haven't looked into that because obviously the board has that power. I don't think the president does because I think it's semi-autonomous, but it is worth looking into whether Congress has that power. At the very least, we ought to be doing hearings on it to expose the type of conflicts and corruption that he has.
Congressman Khanna is with us for the hour, taking your calls at a National Progressive Town Hall meeting. You can find his website at Khanna, KHANNA.house.gov. You can tweet him at Khanna. And we will be right back with more of your calls for Congressman Khanna in just a moment.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
We'll be right back with more of your calls for Congressman Khanna right after this. welcome back. Michael in Fairview, Michigan. You're on the air with Representative Khanna.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Representative Khanna, is it going to be some indignant attitudes from the Democrats when they find out about this Supreme Court's wife being sadistic like she is? I mean, it would be nice to see some outrage, sir.
I'm sorry, it came in and out.
He said, when are Democrats going to start bringing up the topic of Ginny Thomas? It seems like there should be some outrage around her participating in the January 6th riot.
Yeah. We have been pushing that. Obviously, you saw that the January 6th committee has brought that to light. And my anticipation is we're going to have congressional hearings on that conflict because we need a code of ethics for the Supreme Court justices without conflicts of interest.
Patrick in East Lansing, Michigan. You're on the air with Representative Khanna.
Representative Khanna, we really appreciate what you've been doing with the Progressive Caucus. I have a question about the child tax credit. And the story I want to tell you is on the Poor People's Campaign calls. I've listened repeatedly week in and week out because I participate in their national calls and I work with their groups here in Michigan. I've heard repeatedly parents who got the full child tax credit and they could stop an electric shutoff or a water shutoff. They could avoid being made homeless, all of these ways in which their lives were improved, and then it was ripped away from them. And they felt as if they, were made worse. And it was very disheartening to hear, and I think politically you put yourself in a worse position. So my question to you is, when Senator Manchin says you have to work to get this full benefit, the study that I read in the Washington Post by Ashley Nunes from R Street Institute in Harvard Law School says that that's going to exclude 1.5 million single parents, mostly women, and it's going to make them have to earn a wage outside of the poverty threshold to get out of poverty. And I just wonder, we have the highest rate of single parenthood in the world, some of the lowest wages. We can't get the one fair wage passed because of the filibuster. What can you do to help get the child tax credit fully refundable without a work requirement so we don't lose a lot of these voters in the midterms and Biden can keep his promise to help people in poverty?
Well, I completely agree with you. I mean, look, the child tax credit was the biggest anti-poverty measure that we've taken. It put money in the pockets of people who are poor, who are low income, and we need to make that permanent, and we need to keep it fully refundable. And it's a real shame that we haven't been able to get that done, and it's because we don't have enough votes in the Senate on it. But I am absolutely committed to that. It's about one of the most effective things we can do to reduce poverty in this country.
Do you think that we can hold on to the Senate this fall?
I do. We've got some good candidates with Fetterman and Tim Ryan. I think state by state we have a real fighting chance. But we're going to have to do more and be more aggressive on going after the oil companies, on going after corporate price gouging, on doing things to actually reduce prices.
Yeah, I'm with you. Congressman Khanna taking your calls for the hour, a National Progressive Town Hall meeting. We'll be right back. Hey, I've got a new book out. It's called The Hidden History of Big Brother in America, How the Death of Privacy and the Rise of Surveillance Threaten Us and Our Democracy. Available wherever you find fine books. Have you noticed that people are basically imitating Donald Trump all over the country? We're seeing all this rude behavior, sexist, racist behavior. People getting arrested at airport gates, airplanes being turned around because people are fighting with flight attendants, disorderly, rude, unhinged conduct. I mean, it's just gone nuts. Car crashes are up, gun deaths are up, shootings are up.
Healthcare workers are being literally physically assaulted in some hospitals. They're having to put together panic buttons. This kind of behavior in our schools is increasing. It looks like, according to some sociologists, psychologists, and even business consultants, it looks like a lot of this ties back not just to the Trump presidency, with Donald Trump providing us with an example of how to be, an obnoxious person, but also the crisis of the pandemic. We've got a deeper dive into this topic over at ThomHartmann.com. There's a great video about it. You can check it out there. Congressman Ro Khanna taking your calls. Dave in Federal Way, Washington. Got a quick question for Congressman Khanna?
Yeah, Congressman Khanna, I have another elections question because an attorney that goes on a lot of the liberal shows, I think he gave a surprise answer. He was asked, what if Kamala Harris is in the same position facing states offering two alternate state slates of electors? And the answer was, look, if it's like the Trump administration and there's a lot of corruption, co-conspirators, if there's a lot of corruption, there's nothing anyone can do. So I'm like...
So, Dave, what's your question, please?
Yeah. My question is, what does the Federal Elections Commission, what is their role? Do they have any oversight into what's valid as far as an elector goes?
Great question.
Now, the FEC largely is about the campaign finance and enforcing election laws. They won't get involved in something like who becomes president. What the Electoral Count Act would do, if we passed it, is say that every state has a law on its books right now, all 50 states, that the state legislature is bound to follow the popular vote winner in that state. And the Electoral Count Act would say if a state retroactively, after the election, wants to depart from the law on their books, that would trigger immediate judicial review. Now, people would say, well, the Supreme Court has Republican nominees. But the reality is all of the court cases that Trump filed failed. And so far, at least, the courts have been willing to, at least in 2020, uphold basic democracy. And so the fix to this is at least to kick it to the courts, as opposed to now, which just allows the state legislature to do whatever they want.
Bill in Clifton, New Jersey. You're on the air with Representative Khanna.
Yeah, hi. The House does some great work, but it goes to die in the Senate, like almost every day. I was wondering if there's ever been an accounting for all those bills that you've worked on, done research for, your salaries, and goes to waste. That must cost a lot of money. And the Senate should, be made aware of that because it's ridiculous. They should be voting on within 2 weeks. They should have a Senate rule to vote on everything up or down within 2 weeks.
Bill, I completely agree with you. I mean, first of all, we need to have a clear communication of how many things the House has passed. $15 wage, expanding Medicaid, gun laws, prescription drugs, lowering the cost, child care, which have just died in the Senate. And there has to be some willingness, I think, on the Senate to have vote after vote after vote on it. Senator Schumer can call these votes up so that people really understand where everyone stands and where the blocks are.
Tim in Shelby Township, Michigan. You are on the air with Representative Khanna.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. And a reminder to everyone, this is the last day for the free speech donation run.
Yeah, it is. Your question for Congressman Khanna. We're running out of time here, Tim.
Yes. After January 6th commission, are they going to put a listing out for every Republican who fought and in a treasonous way and committed sedition? Every congressman and senator, so it goes to that district and points out that these guys are anti-American.
Well, I think it's public knowledge of the people who were inciting the insurrection, and I think that was exposed, obviously, by the January 6th committee. I mean, you had people asking Donald Trump for a pardon. You don't ask someone for a pardon if you don't think you may have criminal exposure. And so that we do need to make sure that those members of Congress who participated in the January 6th insurrection, that they're held accountable just like anyone else.
Yeah, we have a little less than a minute left. I've been watching this last night. All the news coverage was about basically, and a lot of the stuff in the committee was saying Mike Pence could determine the next president. But in fact, it was Mike Pence has to throw it to the House, which means that there have to be members of the House collaborating with this. Do you think that you guys are going to be looking into that?
Absolutely, and the committee does, and you're absolutely right. I mean, the reality was that they had more of the delegations, the 20, because in the House you don't vote just by who has more of the majority. Each state casts one vote. That's how the Constitution is written. And so what the plan had to have the buy-in ultimately of McCarthy if for it to work. And that there needs to be more of a investigation. I think the committee has looked into this, and this is why they wanted to subpoena McCarthy into what was the coordination between the House Democrats, the House Republicans and the White House, and whether there was some plan to have them overturn the election.
Yeah, it is truly breathtaking. Congressman Khanna, thanks so much for dropping by. I realize you're...
Always love being on.
Yeah, thank you. I realize you're on the run there with the Poor People's Campaign, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. We will be back with Alex Kotch, who's going to talk about bankrolling white nationalist hate groups. Stick around.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann Program. They are HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit delivery service. More info at HelloFresh.com, code TOM. The hidden history of Big Brother in America, how the death of privacy and the rise of surveillance threaten us and our democracy, by Thom Hartmann. More information at all book outlets. Wild Alaskan Company, 100% sustainable wild-caught seafood delivered right to your door. More info at wildalaskancompany.com/Tom. Cozy Earth, better sleep, better you. More info at CozyEarth.com, promo code TOM. The latest views and opinions from U.S. politics and other fascinating subjects too, including cutting-edge science reports at HartmanReport.com. And Dinovite, a whole food supplement for your pet's immune system. More info at Dinovite.com.
Day. It's the last day, the very last day, your very last chance to contribute to Free Speech TV. Seriously, let me say it again. It's the last day. It's your very last chance. And boy, do I have a special for you. Imagine that your $10 gift becomes not $20, but $30. But wait, there's more. Your $100 gift becomes not $200, but $300. And not only that, your $200 gift or your $100 gift can become $200 and then become $300. And then on top of that, it might be the thing that kicks us into another $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000. Here's how it all works. Number one, longtime viewer Steve in Virginia has said that he called Free Speech TV yesterday and said, if you guys hit your goals for the week, for the 2-week fundraising drive here, the $250,000 goal, the $250,000 goal. If you hit that, which is not a lot of money, if you guys hit that goal, I will contribute an additional $5,000. Thank you, Steve. And then we also have
another match from, that we've had all along, that from, let's see, Frontline Funders Mike and Andrew, both out of California, that if we hit our goal, they'll put in another $10,000 to Free Speech TV. But then on top of that, Frontline Funder Sandy in New Mexico. So first of all, we've got the $50,000 match from that long list of people that I've been reading to you all week. We've got the $50,000 match from those great Frontline Funders. Thank you again to all of you. So that takes your $10 gift becomes $20, or your $50 gift becomes $100. But then on top of that, Sandy in New Mexico says, I'll match up to $10,000. So your $10 gift becomes $20 with the match, with the match from the whole bunch of funders, and then it becomes $30 with the match from Sandy. So your contribution today is tripled. Tripled. It's amazing, right? It's a good thing. It's a really good thing. We need these. And we've got to hit this goal. And we are behind, by the way. So there's a certain amount of urgency here. We need you to be a superhero, please, and pitch in. Now, of course, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, yeah. Longtime viewer Steve in Virginia is going to invest in an additional $5,000. I think I mentioned that. Yeah, I did mention that. So we're good. So here it is. Your gift will be tripled, and your gift today that might push us over the top of that $250,000 could be the gift. Your call could be the call that unlocks an additional $10,000 and $5,000 for Free Speech TV people. It could be that your contribution, whatever it may be, your $50 contribution could be the thing that pushes us over the top. But it has to happen today. This is the last day of the pledge drive. We are trying to compress these things down to 2 weeks and give you an opportunity to get in there, make your contribution. We'll get out. We'll get back to normal, back to the book reports and other fascinating content rather than just my pitching. But we need your help. We need your cooperation. We need you to make a phone call right now to 877-378-8669 and say, yes, I want to contribute. If you do, there's a bunch of gifts that you can get. With a $20 gift, you have your choice of the Proud Student of Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. By the way, this is the only way you can get these. Or a Take Action, Make History rainbow sticker, or the Free Speech TV Pride Cool Sea drink holder. These are all with a $20 gift. With a $50 gift, there's the Free Speech TV seed bombs, or the Free Speech TV superhero tote bag. With a $75 gift, there's the Free Speech TV official hat, or the official Thom Hartmann Program mug, only available during pledge drives from Free Speech TV. With a $100 gift, you have your choice of the book by Lauren Rankin, Bodies on the Line, at the front line in the fight to protect abortion in America, or the Free Speech TV superhero card set. You can collect all three, Deb Haaland, Kamala Harris, and Ketanji Brown Jackson as superheroes. With a $120 gift, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV superhero water bottle, or the Hidden History of Big Brother, my most recent book, autographed by the author. Every book has my signature inside, which dramatically increases its resale value if you're going to put it on eBay years down the road. Probably it'll be worth more after I'm dead, for whatever. $120 gift. It's a pretty good book, too, by the way. I think you'll be shocked by everything that Facebook knows about you, among others. $120 gift. The $240 gift, your choice of coming to or joining us on a Free Speech TV Zoom call, a meet and greet, a virtual meet and greet, or the superhero box set, which includes the tote bag and the cards, the superhero cards. And with a $1,000 gift, there's the meet and greet. But the bottom line, whatever you give now, when you call 877-378-8669 or you go to freespeech.org, whatever you give right now is going to be first doubled and then tripled, all kind of instantly, because of these great frontline funders who have stepped up and said, yes, we're going to do it. Isn't that, I am just so impressed by the people who watch this program, who watch Free Speech TV. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back to the second hour of our program. Alex Kotch is on the line with us. He's an investigative reporter with the Center for Media and Democracy, campaign finance expert, helped launch the Money in Politics website Sludge, and a contributor to the American Prospect, The Nation, and Vice.com. Exposedbycmd.org is the website. Alex, Alex, Kotch is his Twitter handle. Alex, welcome back to the program. So I saw this brilliant piece, Who is Bankrolling White Nationalist Hate Groups? Tell us about this.
Yeah, well, thanks, Tom, and it's really great to be back on your show. What I got my hands on the manifesto that the Buffalo murderer wrote before he killed 10 black people just a couple weeks ago. And I realized that he cited the websites of two pretty prominent white nationalist hate groups in his report. He cited propaganda that they put out alleging that, black people were inferior to white people. It's entirely propaganda, but, it influenced this person who ended up becoming a terrorist. And so what I'd known from my past reporting was that those two groups actually, not only are they considered charities by the IRS, so taxpayers are subsidizing them, but they're also funded by several major donor-advised fund sponsors. And so what those are is money managers who have clients, often individuals, who put their money into an account that these money managers manage. They invest it in the market and it accrues wealth. And then the donors, quote-unquote, advise the managers where to give their money. The thing is, these managers actually own the money once it goes into their accounts that they're managing. Fidelity Charitable Investments, Vanguard Charitable, Schwab Charitable, and most prominently Donors Trust, which is a conservative version of these, are actually funding white nationalist hate groups. Donors Trust gave $1.6 million from 2019 to 20 to VDARE. And also gave over $600,000 to the nonprofit Behind American Renaissance. So I've reported on this before, but I thought it was as good a time as ever to remind people that we have mainstream institutions that are giving considerable dollars, large chunks of the budgets, to these extremely dangerous white nationalist groups.
So tell me about VDARE and the American Renaissance. Who are these guys? What are they up to?
Well, VDARE is a foundation, and it's also a website called VDARE. It is led by Peter Brimelow, who I guess is a British immigrant, ironically, because they are known for their anti-immigrant rhetoric. Also, they've published on their website lots of white nationalists, anti-Semites, etc., and also a couple folks who ended up working for the Daily Caller, just to sort of call attention to the nexus between white nationalist groups and right-wing media. And the American Renaissance is led by Jared Taylor. He's kind of one of those sort of older, influential white nationalists in the country who's been on the circuit for quite a while. Their main work and what they're most proud of and what they're really known for is a report called The Color of Crime that they first wrote in 1992, and they continue to update. Now, this is what the Buffalo killer cited in his manifesto. The Color of Crime is it's absolutely white nationalist, racist garbage. It's using data and making false conclusions from it in order to portray people of color as innately violent and hypersexual. These are long-standing racist tropes going back hundreds of years. And they updated it most recently a few years ago, and they continue, unfortunately, to be funded by taxpayers.
So you mentioned Donors Trust, this conservative group or fund. Does it work that wealthy people give them money, they invest that money, the wealthy people still have a claim to the capital, but the interest is going to these racist groups, or was I misunderstanding what you were laying out in the beginning?
Not exactly. So if you're, this is actually now the most popular donation model in the country, at least as far as dollars go. Because, yes, mostly fairly wealthy folks are the people who have the money to start these accounts. There's a minimum amount you need to invest. But essentially, you're going to a money manager and saying, I want to start a charitable account with you. Will you take my money, invest it wisely, and then dole it out to the nonprofits of my choice whenever I would like? And most of them eagerly say yes, and they don't discriminate as far as which nonprofits receive the money. So they accrue interest, but all of the principal and interest is part of their account, and then they can give that to whatever 501c3 charities they like.
So these are actual donations.
Yeah, they're actual donations, but they're technically coming from these donor-advised fund sponsors. So Donors Trust, Fidelity Charitable, Vanguard Charitable, Schwab Charitable, National Philanthropic Trust. There's a lot of them, and they're giving 5 or 6 figure, even 7-figure amounts to these some of the worst groups in the country.
Wow. You also mentioned Convention of States and a shadowy institute filled with fringe doctors, and ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council. What's up with them?
You must be referring to a couple of different stories of mine.
Apparently.
But just to summarize, the Convention of States is a group that is trying to have a constitutional convention. And they've been working on this for years. They go around to the state legislatures and encourage them to pass laws, either basically signing them on to this convention or putting it on the state ballot as a referendum to decide if they'll be at the Convention of States. And so what they hope to do, if this does happen, and they have to hit a threshold of states before it will happen. I think there are only a few states left before they can do it. And the worry is that if they do this, first of all, they can change the U.S. Constitution however they like, because this has never been done. Right. And so they could do whatever they want. And, things that until recently seemed unthinkable, like getting rid of women's access to abortions completely, they could do that at the constitutional level. But they could do a lot of other things, too, that aren't actually, unfortunately, starting to unfold. And some of them claim that they just wanted to make it a balanced budget amendment, which is just basically ruling that the federal government can never spend more than it's borrowing. But there's no reason to think that they couldn't also do whatever they want. And the state lawmakers who would be, as delegates who would be going to these things, are becoming more and more extreme. And also the right has a majority in the majority of states. So it could be a complete disaster.
Yeah, absolutely. Are they getting money from these the donor trust and whatnot, or are they independent?
Yeah, no, I believe they do. I'd have to check my notes, but Convention of States Action is kind of I believe a 501c4 group that's connected to a charity that does receive donations from Donors Trust, but also from a lot of the right-wing family foundations.
Is Donors Trust, has anybody confronted Donors Trust with the fact that they're funding anti-Semites and right-wing racist hate groups? Are they proud of it, or are they trying to hide it, or what?
Well, they sidestepped the question. They stopped returning my emails after a couple articles I wrote a few years ago, but I continue to get on the beat. But their CEO, Lawson Bader, sent a comment to me, which was a lie. He said that, we don't control where the money goes. It's up to the IRS. But actually, all of these types of groups, including Donors Trust, have in the fine print that their board of directors has to approve or reject any potential nonprofit recipient of donations that they're giving. So,
yeah, I'm on the board of a nonprofit foundation that gives away a lot of money, and it's absolutely true. The IRS doesn't decide anything.
Look, yeah, the legal facts are that they own the money. So how could someone else who doesn't have any claim to the money anymore dictate where it goes? That's just not how it works. And the reality is, Donors Trust is a right-wing group, and I don't really know where their board of directors stands on white nationalism, but I think they'd be more amenable than the Fidelity board. And the Fidelity charitable folks, I would assume, are just scared of a lawsuit. They're scared of some precedent being set. But I think that doing the right thing is more important than paying some lawyers to defend.
Amen. Amen. Alex Kotch, exposedbycmd.org is the website. Alex, thanks.
Thank you so much, Tom.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We'll be right back with Anything Goes Friday, picking up your calls. And, actually, I want to get into forgiving student debt, too. Stick around on that. And welcome back. Daryl in Bainbridge Island, Washington. Hey, Daryl. Thanks for listening to KBCS.
Hi, Tom.
What's on your mind?
In 1907, James Casey started the American Messenger Company. Approximately 60, 70 years later, there was a snowstorm that debilitated the post office, and the post office subcontracted off to this company. By this time, it changed its name to United Parcel Services. And today, I just found out online that their main thrust is family programs fostering children. It's named after James Casey's mother, Annie E. Casey. You must have heard that name on liberal radio over the years.
I've heard it on NPR, yeah. The
Correct,
Annie E. Casey Foundation funds them.
Correct, and they give money to various organizations. I think transsexuals, they're like us, uber liberals, and I think this fostering children could go very well with saving children that are going to come out of the Roe versus Wade. Is that it?
Yeah. The end of Roe v. Wade. Yeah.
Yeah, the end of it. There you go. Because there's going to be a lot of kids out there needing fostering, correct?
Yeah,
Don't you
I think so. Yeah. So you just wanted to flag that.
Yes. Okay. We need to write that foundation in Seattle or on 8th Avenue, about 5 minutes walk from my office, and let them know if that goes through, which it sounds like it's going to. Putting it down.
Yeah,
they should increase. They should increase their.
I got it.
Okay,
I got it. Daryl, thank you. Thank you very much. Scott in Seattle. Hey, Scott, what's up?
Hi, Tom. Hey, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you.
And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and he was sort of taking the oil companies' point of view from regarding this, like our gas price and all that kind of stuff. And what he was saying.
You mean he was repeating the Republican talking points that it's all Biden's fault, that he cut off the leases and he shut down the pipeline? Neither of which are largely true. But
no, he was saying, that the oil companies lost more than $20 billion and had to borrow $30 billion to maintain their investments and prepare for the post-pandemic demand. And then he went on to say that their position is that and then he was during the pandemic, the government helped everybody except for the oil companies, with bailouts and whatnot. And then that their position is that we put them in this situation by expecting them to spend billions of dollars to increase the capacity, increase their
poor
capacity.
oil companies. They were showing, they consistently show profits. I mean, they've got us by the short hairs. Yeah, there were some, some oil companies, some small oil companies that were losing money during the pandemic. That's why Jared Kushner went over and negotiated a 2.5 or 2.2 million barrel a day oil production cut with the Saudis, which got the price of oil back up to the point where they were making money again. But they were only losing money for a couple of months there because, we went into lockdown in March, and I believe it was May that they did that production cut. I might be wrong. It might have been June, but, Scott, I find that humorous, I suppose would be the word. It's coming up on 20 minutes past the hour. We'll be back in 60 seconds. I got to tell you about student debt forgiveness and pick up your calls. Change starts with you. You can be calling your Democratic or Republican representatives to let them know what you think by calling 202-224-3121. It's the Capitol switchboard. It'll get you right through to them. The recent killing of a young black man in Michigan, Patrick Loyola, who was, the police officer was sitting on his back and put a gun right to the back of his head and shot him.
is just the latest example of police killing people out of traffic stops, and predominantly black people. 28% of the people who are killed in traffic stops are black, but African Americans are only 13% of our population. Police in the United States have killed nearly 600 people during traffic stops since 2017. Mapping Police Violence is the nonprofit that's been doing the work on this. About 10% just this year. About 10% of the 1,100 people killed by police this year have been killed at traffic stops. Dante Wright, Sandra Bland, Philando Castile, we know their names and we know their stories, but we're not doing enough to get this under control. Other countries tend not to have this problem. We need to do something now. There's a video about it over at thomhartmann.com. Check it out. Welcome back. 21 minutes past the hour. My op-ed today over at HartmannReport.com is titled, "Forgiving Student Debt Isn't Giving a Gift, It's Righting a Wrong." And I start out by quoting a right-wing website. Well, actually, I start out by pointing out that Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, the Democrat of Minnesota, Representative Omar, along with 55 colleagues, just sent a letter to Education Secretary Miguel Cardona wanting details of the coming forgiveness of student debt. So, you know, I Googled student debt forgiveness. Actually, I DuckDuckGo'd it. And the first thing that popped up was a Fox News article by a woman saying, you know, if there are millions of Americans like me for whom debt forgiveness is an infuriating slap in the face after years of hard work and sacrifice. And I'm like, this, to be charitable, is BS. Forgiving student debt is not a slap at anybody. It is righting a moral wrong inflicted on Americans by Ronald Reagan and his morbidly rich Republican buddies. You know, prior to the Reagan Revolution, pretty much anybody could go to college. You could. My mom put herself through Michigan State University, which is no slouch in terms of being a good college, working as a summer lifeguard up in Charlevoix, Michigan. I mean, you know, it didn't, and she graduated magna cum laude. She could do that. And her father was dead. Her mother was the city manager for Charlevoix. Not a wealthy family at all, but that's what they did. I talk about how my dad and Louise's dad both, went to college on the GI Bill. Her dad ended up the Assistant Attorney General for the state of Michigan. We found that every dollar we invested in our young people coming back from World War II with the GI Bill, every dollar we invested produced a $7 return in additional tax revenue because those people made more money because they had an education. So, for most of the history of the United States, Abraham Lincoln put into place free college, 73 land-grant universities across the United States where college was free or close to free. MSU was one of them. And Thomas Jefferson created the first free college in the United States, the University of Virginia. And he was very proud of the fact that the day he died, in fact, it's on his tombstone, which he himself wrote, that, that's more important than him being president. In fact, I believe his tombstone doesn't even mention his being president. I think it mentions that he wrote the Virginia Declaration of Rights, that he founded the University of Virginia, and that he was the author of the Declaration of Independence, if I'm remembering correctly. So, we have a long tradition of access to colleges in the United States, but what happened was when Reagan came into office, 80% of college education was paid for by state and federal money. States picked up 65%, federal money picked up 15%. So only 20% was paid for by students through tuition. Reagan, first of all, when he was governor of California, he ended free college in California, and he cut the budget for the University of California by 20%, the amount of state money going to them. So they immediately had to jack up tuition. Then when he became president, he did the same thing to federal support for colleges. And so, the legacy of Reaganism, the reason why we have a $1.7 trillion student debt overhang that's preventing people from starting families, buying homes, starting businesses, the whole reason for this is because we went from 80% of college costs being paid for by government when Reagan came into office to only 20% of it being paid for by government now as a result of 40 years of Reaganomics. And it has gutted American education. It has gutted the American middle class. We've got this massive debt. And, there's this debate even among liberals who are saying, oh, well, you've got to, if you're going to do away with student debt, you got to make sure it doesn't go to rich people. Rich people don't have student debt, number one.
And I mean, come on, who's going to sign up for an 8% student loan when they got enough money in the bank that they could just, pay for it? So number one, that's a crazy notion. And number two, it's not, yes, a lot of people worked really hard to pay off their student loans. Good on them. But they shouldn't have had to in the first place. This is not a slap in their faces. This is acknowledging, hey, you did good, but it's acknowledging that the people who couldn't pay off their student loans, typically through no fault of their own, should never have had to have student loans in the first place. We are literally the only developed country in the world that has a student loan industry attached to our backs like a giant blood-sucking leech. Just like we are the only developed country in the world that has a massive for-profit health insurance industry also attached to our back like a blood-sucking leech. These two things, frankly, I would put these at the top of the Democratic agenda. People talk about, how should Democrats message? It should be health care for everybody at no cost, college for everybody, and trade school for everybody at no cost. This, and every other country in the world can do this. Canada does it. All of Europe does it. Costa Rica does it, for God's sake. They have free health care and free college education. We can do this, can't we? Anyhow, you can read the whole rant complete with all the links and sources and everything else with no commercials, no ads at all, and for free over at HartmannReport.com. It's titled, "Forgiving Student Debt Isn't Giving a Gift, It's Righting a Wrong." We'll be back with your calls on Anything Goes Friday.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Fair and only slightly unbalanced. I'll be picking up your phone calls right after this. It's the last day, the very last day, your very last chance to contribute to Free Speech TV. Seriously, let me say it again. It's the last day. It's your very last chance. And boy, do I have a special for you. Imagine that your $10 gift becomes not $20, but $30. But wait, there's more. Your $100 gift becomes not $200, but $300. And not only that, your $200 gift or your $100 gift can become $200 and then become $300. And then on top of that, it might be the thing that kicks us into another $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000. Here's how it all works. Number one, longtime viewer Steve in Virginia has said that he called Free Speech TV yesterday and said, if you guys hit your goals for the week, for the 2-week fundraising drive here, the $250,000 goal, the $250,000 goal, if you hit that, which is not a lot of money, if you guys hit that goal, I will contribute an additional $5,000. Thank you, Steve. And then we also have another match from, that we've had all along that from, let's see, Frontline Funders Mike and Andrew, both out of California, that if we hit our goal, they'll put in another $10,000 to Free Speech TV. But then on top of that, Frontline Funders Sandy in New Mexico. So first of all, we've got the $50,000 match from that long list of people that I've been reading to you all week. We've got the $50,000 match from those great Frontline Funders. Thank you again to all of you. So that takes your $10 gift becomes $20, or your $50 gift becomes $100. But then on top of that, Sandy in New Mexico says, I'll match up to $10,000. So your $10 gift becomes $20 with the match, with the match from the whole bunch of funders, and then it becomes $30 with the match from Sandy. So your contribution today is tripled. Tripled. It's amazing, right? It's a good thing. It's a really good thing. We need these. And we've got to hit this goal. And we are behind, by the way. So there's a certain amount of urgency here. We need you to be a superhero, please, and pitch in. Now, of course, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, yeah. Longtime viewer Steve in Virginia is going to invest in an additional $5,000. I think I mentioned that. Yeah, I did mention that. So we're good. So here it is. Your gift will be tripled, and
Your gift today that might push us over the top of that $250,000 could be the gift. Your call could be the call that unlocks an additional $10,000 and $5,000 for free speech TV people. It could be that your contribution, whatever it may be, your $50 contribution could be the thing that pushes us over the top. But it has to happen today. This is the last day of the pledge drive. We are trying to compress these things down to 2 weeks and give you an opportunity to get in there, make your contribution. We'll get out. We'll get back to normal, back to the book reports and other fascinating content rather than just my pitching. But we need your help. We need your cooperation. We need you to make a phone call right now to 877-378-8669 and say, yes, I want to contribute. If you do, there's a bunch of gifts that you can get with a $20 gift. You have your choice of the Proud Student of Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. By the way, this is the only way you can get these. Or a Take Action, Make History rainbow sticker, or the Free Speech TV Pride Cool Sea drink holder. These are all with a $20 gift. With a $50 gift, there's the Free Speech TV seed bombs or the Free Speech TV superhero tote bag. With a $75 gift, there's the Free Speech TV official hat or the official Thom Hartmann Program mug, only available during pledge drives from Free Speech TV. With a $100 gift, you have your choice of the book by Lauren Rankin, Bodies on the Line, at the front line in the fight to protect abortion in America, or the Free Speech TV superhero card set. You can collect all three, Deb Haaland, Kamala Harris, and Ketanji Brown Jackson as superheroes. With a $120 gift, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV superhero water bottle or the Hidden History of Big Brother, my most recent book, autographed by the author. Every book has my signature inside, which dramatically increases its resale value if you're going to put it on eBay years down the road. Probably it'll be worth more after I'm dead, for whatever. $120 gift. It's a pretty good book, too, by the way. I think you'll be shocked by everything that Facebook knows about you, among others. $120 gift. The $240 gift, your choice of coming to or joining us on a Free Speech TV Zoom call, a meet and greet, a virtual meet and greet, or the superhero box set, which includes the tote bag and the cards. The superhero cards, and with a $1,000 gift, there's the meet and greet. But the bottom line, whatever you give now, when you call 877-378-8669 or you go to freespeech.org, whatever you give right now is going to be first doubled and then tripled, all kind of instantly, because of these great frontline funders who have stepped up and said, yes, we're going to do it. Isn't that, I'm just so impressed by the people who watch this program, who watch Free Speech TV. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you. Hey, thanks so much for sharing our program and for reaching out to our stations and sponsors and letting them know that you're listening. It really means a lot to us. You know, they often say that Republican Senator from Wisconsin, Ron Johnson, is the stupidest guy in the entire United States Senate. I get it. Tommy Tuberville gives him a run for his money, but he just came out with what has to be at least the very stupidest idea of the year. Ron Johnson is proposing, there's a shortage of child care workers right now in America. There's a whole bunch of good reasons for that. But he has proposed a solution. His suggestion, any woman in America who's getting any kind of public assistance, you're getting food stamps, you're getting, tuition relief, whatever it may be, you would be forced to go into daycare centers and care for children. Yeah, seriously. This is Ron Johnson's idea. People who had no training, and one of his assistants said, well, it's just like teachers who teach in public schools where their own kids attend. No, it's not. These are not trained professionals. There's no union. This is nuts. There's a whole video about it over at ThomHartmann.com. Check it out. Welcome back. 35 minutes past the hour, picking up your calls today. Bob in Asheville, North Carolina. Hey, Bob, what's on your mind today?
Oh, man.
You are on the air, Bob. What's up?
Oh, I'm sorry, Tom. I wanted to talk to the representative, but I didn't get in, so I'll ask you the same question. Tom?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's about tax refunds. You know, last year there's still millions of people that didn't get their tax refunds from last year as of filing date this year, and it took me 7-8 months last year. I'm 7 months in now, and I don't know if this administration has done anything to replace the workers that Trump had turned out of the IRS and just caused such a back.
They have not been able to do that yet. Part of the additional funding for the IRS and also for the EPA and a couple of other agencies was included in the Build Back Better legislation, and it got shot down. So right now the IRS is kind of stuck at the staffing that they have. They may be hiring, I'm not sure, but it is just a disaster. And in fact, my recollection is that the IRS is still headed up by a Donald Trump appointee. So
that's horrible.
Yeah, it is. So the problem is, of course, Republicans in the House and Senate who don't want the IRS auditing rich people, and therefore they're trying to kneecap it. And so the bottom line is we need to get more Democrats elected. Bob, thanks a lot for the call. It was a good one. Cliff in Santa Clarita, California. Hey, Cliff, what's on your mind today?
Good morning, Tom.
Hey, Cliff.
I'm doing great, but I'll get better.
Okay, me too. What's on your mind?
Yeah. And happy Friday to you and your wonderful crew.
Thank you.
Quick story, Tom. I'm on my way into a popular department store. I think it was Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a table with a couple fellas gathering signatures. They're trying to recall George Gascon out here, the DA for L.A. County.
Mm-hmm.
So I declined politely to sign their signature. I'm heading into the store. I start talking to this lovely older woman. We're talking liberal politics for a minute, and I mentioned that I call the Thom Hartmann Program. I've been calling for like 10 or 15 years. Tom, her eyes lit up. She loves you so much.
That's sweet.
And no, it was great. It was, and then she asked me my name, and I said, "Oh, I'm Cliff from Santa Clarita," and she recognized my name from calling in. It was such a wonderful, delightful connection that we had.
That's marvelous.
Talking politics, and it's your program brings people together, Tom.
Well, thank you, Cliff. Is that what you called about?
Anyways. No, water. I'm calling about water, Tom.
Okay. Yeah, you got a problem there in California.
Reading about this. We're in a mega drought. We got the crisis out here. All the lakes and reservoirs are super low. The Colorado River is super precarious right now. My question to Tom is desalination plants on large scale, are they feasible? And if they are feasible, why aren't they building them? And if they're not feasible, what are we going to do?
They are feasible and not feasible. For example, the Gulf countries are using desalination plants aggressively to provide themselves with fresh water. I mean, they're right on the Gulf, right? But it is brackish water or salty water. But the problem is basically the way desalination works. There's two main techniques. One is to push it through a filter, through a membrane that is selectively permeable, that will not let the salt through but does let the water through. The problem is that it requires an enormous amount of pressure, and you've got to continuously clean the filters. That takes a lot of energy. The other way to do it is to boil water, let it condense and catch the condensate. That requires a lot of energy, a lot of heat. And so in the Gulf states, they can do that because they got free oil, and they run them off oil. There is some speculation that it could be done using solar collectors, that, a couple of acres of perhaps even floating solar collectors could generate enough electricity to run a desalination plant. The problem is getting it to scale, and I know that there's some demonstration projects being done in California around this, but I'm not all that familiar with the state of the art right now. But an awful lot of emphasis instead is being put on simply recycling water. You've got numerous communities now in California and around the world that are recycling wastewater, both gray water and black water, into drinking water, into potable water. And that's certainly a better option for inland communities, for example, like in California, like in the Valley, where getting the water from the ocean would be a problem to begin with, much less the desalination route. But that's everything I know about that, Cliff.
Okay.
All right. Thanks a lot for the call. Eric in Fountain Valley, California. Hey, Eric, what's on your mind?
He was looking for you.
Hi, Tom.
Hey.
Let's push ahead with forgiveness of student loans.
I wanted to get back to the topic about fascism in the United States, and apparently more than 50% of people now are in agreement that it's coming. I'm kind of reaching that conclusion too. But I think that what we're looking at is the Republican Party trying to declare one-party rule in our country. And I don't think that's going to work for long. And particularly, I don't think it's going to work in the blue states. And I'm trying to envision, because I'm seeing this as a real possibility, how this is going to play out. And are the blue states going to, secede? Are the red states going to try to occupy them? I'm kind of like taking the next step and going, how's this actually going to play out in the United States?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, Eric. I wrote a piece a week or so ago on HartmannReport.com titled "What Would a Fascist America Look Like?" And it would not be that different from what we have right now, other than that you would suppress dissent, that politics would become basically a charade, that the media would end up owned by the fascists. Viktor Orban laid it out in Hungary. This is clearly what the Republican Party wants to do, and Orban has largely turned Hungary into a fascist state. I agree, Bob. Eric. I think it's very, very possible that this is going to happen here in the United States, and it's absolutely what the Republican Party is working toward right now, and it's very, very troubling. Eric, thanks a lot for the call. Bob in Raleigh, North Carolina. Hey, Bob, what's up?
Hey, Tom, thanks for taking my call. Sure. My thought or question is regarding forgiveness of student loans. Mm-hmm. Over the last 9 years, my daughter has made over $42,000 in student loan payments for a $40,000 loan principal, and she still owes over $30,000. It is, and she still owes over $30,000. So this just feels like low-hanging fruit to me. Let's forgive all student loans where the principal has already been paid, and they've already,
at the very least.
For us, it's like the low-hanging fruit, right? At least, the grifters already got lots of interest money, from those loans, so they've already, gotten well past the principal. Anyway, that was my thought. It just seems like a real easy one. The loan's been paid.
It's a great start. That's a great start, Bob. Thank you. That's putting that on my radar screen. Larry in Los Angeles. Hey, Larry. How are you doing today?
Hi.
What's on your mind?
I'm doing fine. Just for the record, since Biden's been president, the production of crude oil in the United States has actually gone up. The news media won't say that because it messes up their
narrative.
Trying to blame. It messes up their propaganda. They're trying to blame Biden for the increase in gasoline. But we've actually increased our production, and anybody can check this by going on the internet and looking up oil production in the United States, and make sure you include 2022, and you'll see that it's actually gone up. There's no reason for the prices to be as high as they are today.
Well, a lot of that increased oil production is being shipped overseas, as Congressman Khanna pointed out in the last hour.
But even still, there's no reason why we should be paying that higher gas price.
No, Bernie pointed out a couple of days ago, the last time oil was $118 a barrel, which is where it was 2 days ago, the price of gasoline was $3.25 a gallon, if I'm remembering correctly.
But everybody should check out the graphs. The graphs show you that we don't have a shortage of oil. That's one of the lies that our right-wing media is telling us.
Yeah.
I heard you talking the other day about revenues. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to have enough time to get to it. But anyway, if you check revenues when Republicans cut taxes, they always go down. If you look at the quarterly revenues, don't look at the yearly.
Right. They initially drop and then they... Go ahead.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, Donald Trump all saw revenue drop when they cut taxes.
Absolutely. And then it catches up because the economy grows. But yeah, absolutely, Larry.
Listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
It's 45 minutes past the hour. Back with your calls on Anything Goes Friday. By the way, we're going to have a special hour at the top of the hour with Lamar Waldron about Watergate. You're not going to want to miss this. And welcome back. Chuck in Tacoma, Washington. Hey, Chuck, what's on your mind today?
Hi. Well, I got a question regarding the, I just want to put it into your pool of thoughts of the Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment for Republicans, which is thou shalt not speak ill of any fellow Republicans.
Right.
Are we seeing...
Say what? Oh, he just vanished. I think you hung up on yourself, but so I'm not sure what your question was, but it sure looks like the GOP is still doing that, with the exception of Liz Cheney right now. Richard in Huntsville, Texas. Hey, Richard, what's on your mind today?
I got 2 points, so bear with me. The second point, I'm going to segue into a question to you. But first of all, the first point is, and you may have touched on this, and I'm sorry, but I try to catch all your stuff, even though I recorded, I don't catch up with all of it. But this so parallels. I mean, let's look at the big picture of the history of the United States. And I'm talking right now pre-constitutional convention, you know, and the Articles of Confederation wasn't working. The government didn't have any power, didn't have any teeth. And that's what I see going on right now with the inability to enforce subpoenas. And I think we need to revisit pardoning power and revisit Supreme Court powers and alien sedition, you know, like Fox 6 News, and hold accountable these collaborators of the will to destroy democracy. And I see Shays' rebellion as just that so parallels January 6th, and in that it's bringing to mind.
I thought Shays' rebellion was a protest. You know, it was basically people. It was a protest against debt, wasn't it? I'd have to go back and I mixed them up in my brain, the various rebellions at that time.
It was rebellion to paying taxes, but it was state taxes. But yeah, and it was in Massachusetts, and it was you know, the Articles of Confederation. I mean, each state had only one vote, and Congress didn't have the power to tax, and you know, you had states that were making deals with other countries and stuff like that. But you know, January 6th is going. I'm hoping it's going to be like Shays' rebellion in that it's going to trigger people into realizing that the government now doesn't have any teeth. It doesn't have any power. Like I said,
it's been paralyzed by the Senate, basically.
Well, you can't even enforce the subpoenas. Okay, that's my first point. And like I said, you probably have touched on that before. I'm sorry if I missed it and just brought it up and reiterated it. But anyway, the second point is when 2 years ago, our worst fears was Trump escaping justice and no vaccines in time before we die.
Right.
Now, that was 2 years ago. I mean, I longed for 2 years ago when that was our worst fears. I remember your discussions. You know, when you were talking about he's probably going to go to another country. I longed for 2 years ago when that was our worst fears. So this is my segue into the question: what do you see where we are 2 years from now?
I think a lot is going to depend on whether the Republicans take control of the House and Senate and whether the Trump faction retains control over the GOP. If both those things happen 2 years from now, in all probability, we will be in the last stages of American democracy and entering a fascist state. If the Republican Party overturns the Trump faction, or if the Democrats hold on to the House and Senate in this election, I think we still have a chance. But you know, if the GOP takes the House and Senate, well, it's going to be a tough 2 years, Richard. It's going to be real tough. Thanks a lot for the call. We'll be right back. It's coming up on 10 minutes before the hour. Share the Thom Hartmann Program with your friends. We're available on SiriusXM, Free Speech TV, Pacifica, commercial stations nationwide, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, on the Thom Hartmann app, and you can even tell your smart speaker to listen to the Thom Hartmann Program. Back in 2018, Pastor Dave Barnhart of the St. Juania United Methodist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, delivered a sermon that is worth revisiting. He said, "The unborn are a convenient group of people to advocate for. They never make demands of you. They are morally uncomplicated, unlike the incarcerated, addicted, or the chronically poor. They don't resent your condescension or complain that you're not politically correct. Unlike widows, they don't ask you to question patriarchy.
Unlike orphans, they don't need money, education, or childcare. Unlike aliens, they don't bring all that racial, cultural, and religious baggage that you dislike. They allow you to feel good about yourself without any work at creating or maintaining relationships. And when they're born, you can forget about them because they cease to be unborn. It's almost as if, by being born, they have died to you. You can love the unborn and advocate for them without substantially challenging your own wealth or power. The whole clip is over at ThomHartmann.com. Check it out. And welcome back, Jack in Los Angeles. Hey, Jack, what's on your mind today?
Professor Hartmann, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Well, thank you, Jack.
Had to call you. Thank you for the tremendous information that you and free speech disseminate every day.
You're welcome.
You are the only news source, besides my deceased father, that mentioned that California changed their gun laws with the emergence of the Black Panther Party.
Oh, yeah. It's a hell of a story, too, isn't it?
I have never heard anyone else mention that but you.
Yeah.
I will listen until I die. I will donate to your station until I die.
Well, thank you, Jack.
And I had one quick thing, because the information is so pertinent. I don't know if you're aware. In 1973, there was a movie that was produced during the blaxploitation era, the movies that came out, Superfly and Shaft.
Yeah, I remember.
There was a movie, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, called The Spook Who Sat by the Door. Are you familiar with that?
I am not familiar with it.
Okay, I want you to Google it, Professor. The movie was so frightening to the establishment because of the premise of the movie. A black man trained by the CIA came back to the neighborhood and developed an underground army that they pulled the movie from the theater.
Oh, interesting.
It's called The Spook Who Sat by the Door.
I'll have to check it out.
But I will watch you forever. My mother's 93. You are the only news source that we religiously watch. I want to thank you for everything.
Thank you, Jack. Thanks for your kind words, and please say hi to your mother for me.
Okay, thank you.
Good talking to you. Thank you. Brian in Joliet, Illinois. Hey, Brian, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah.
I was watching Democracy Now! This morning, and they had from the Poor People's Campaign, the Reverend William Barber, co-chairman, and the Reverend Liz Theo Harris, co-chairman. And tomorrow at approximately 9:30 in D.C., they're going to be having a march, and I think that's very appropriate. As said, about 140 million Americans are living in poverty condition, and I just along that line, if you might please play FDR's economic Bill of Rights speech sometime. I think it would be relevant.
I keep waiting for a slow day, Brian, when I can play some FDR clips and that kind of stuff, and it's just been a fire hose, with January 6th and Trump and all the the fascists in the GOP and everything else. But I will keep that in mind, Brian. Thank you very much for the request, as it were. We'll get to it. Glenn in Kalama, Washington. Hey, Glenn, what's on your mind today?
Tom, I want to ask a question about the nationalization of the oil industry.
Mm-hmm.
Is that idea a fascist idea, a communist idea, or a socialist idea? If none of those, what is it?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, Norway has largely nationalized their oil industry, and they're not a fascist nor a socialist country. You could argue that they're democratic socialist. But, the sovereign wealth fund for their country is huge. It's why they have such a high standard of living. Alaska semi-nationalized the oil industry, and created the Alaska Permanent Fund, so everybody in Alaska gets a couple $1,000s, literally every man, woman, and child in the state every year. There are things like that we could do. I mean, that wasn't full nationalization. That was basically just charging a fee. We could claim that the oil in the United States is U.S. property, and we could raise royalties on it. And that's something that could probably be done administratively. There are a lot of ways to go on that, Glenn. And
what about a cooperative?
Cooperatives are possible. I mean, it would be a big lift because, of course, the oil industry has a lot of money and a lot of political power, and they would yell and scream and call it communism. I guarantee you that. And therefore, I don't think it's a fight that's really worth having. but it's something that we should keep in our back pocket. Glenn, thanks a lot for the call. David in Fresno. Hey, David, what's up?
Hi, Tom. We enjoy your program so much.
Thank you.
I was wanting to talk a little bit about the student loan crisis. I grew up in a small town in Michigan near Kalamazoo in the early 60s. I went to college, and my mother worked at a factory. My father had died, and I was able to go through the University of Michigan and also a year at the University of Madrid. And I thank you for your analysis of the Reagan contribution to this. My theory is that we were able to educate several or many working class people, and from that we had the 60s sort of a cultural revolution, and I think that scared it scared the power elite.
Oh, it absolutely did. Russell Kirk wrote a book about this in '51, The Conservative Mind, predicting essentially the 60s and saying that, when that happens, when the young people and the black people and the women rise up, that's when the government has to crack down and defund the middle class. And that was Reagan's mandate. Reaganism has moved $50 trillion out of the pockets of the middle class, the American working class, and into the pockets of the top 1%. And they did it under the rubric of it's going to ensure social stability.
That's fascinating. I really appreciate having that information.
Yeah, no,
I had an argument with my cousin from Arkansas saying I couldn't go to the University of Michigan today.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
He said, yes, you just have to get a job and you could do it. I said, no, I couldn't.
Yeah, get a job as a well-paid job. That would be the only way to do it. Yeah, David, spot on. David, thanks for the call. It is, Reagan did gut education in the United States. Up next, Lamar Waldron. We're going to do a deep dive into Watergate. Today's the 50th anniversary, so stick around for that. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann Program. They are HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit delivery service. More info at HelloFresh.com, code TOM. The hidden history of Big Brother in America, how the death of privacy and the rise of surveillance threaten us and our democracy, by Thom Hartmann. More information at all book outlets. Wild Alaskan Company, 100% sustainable wild-caught seafood delivered right to your door. More info at wildalaskancompany.com/Tom. Cozy Earth, better sleep, better you. More info at cozyearth.com, promo code TOM. The latest views and opinions from U.S. politics and other fascinating subjects too, including cutting-edge science reports at hartmanreport.com. And Dinovite, a whole food supplement for your pet's immune system. More info at dinovite.com.
It's the last day, the very last day, your very last chance to contribute to Free Speech TV. Seriously, let me say it again. It's the last day. It's your very last chance. And boy, do I have a special for you. Imagine that your $10 gift becomes not $20, but $30. But wait, there's more. Your $100 gift becomes not $200, but $300. And not only that, your $200 gift or your $100 gift can become $200 and then become $300, and then on top of that, it might be the thing that kicks us into another $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000. Here's how it all works. Number one, longtime viewer Steve in Virginia has said that he called Free Speech TV yesterday and said, if you guys hit your goals for the week, for the 2-week fundraising drive here, the $250,000 goal, the $250,000 goal, if you hit that, which is not a lot of money, you know, if you guys hit that goal, I will contribute an additional $5,000. Thank you, Steve. And then we also have another match from, you know, that we've had all along, that from, let's see, frontline funders Mike and Andrew, both out of California, that if we hit our goal, they'll put in another $10,000 to Free Speech TV. But then on top of that, frontline funder Sandy in New Mexico. So first of all, we've got the $50,000 match from that long list of people that I've been reading to you all week. We've got the $50,000 match from those great frontline funders. Thank you again to all of you. So that takes your $10 gift becomes $20, or your $50 gift becomes $100. But then on top of that, Sandy in New Mexico says, I'll match up to $10,000. So your $10 gift becomes $20 with the match, with the match from the whole bunch of funders, and then it becomes $30 with the match from Sandy. So your contribution today is tripled. Tripled. It's amazing, right? It's a good thing. It's a really good thing. We need these. And we've got to hit this goal. And we are behind, by the way. So there's a certain amount of urgency here. We need you to be a superhero, please, and pitch in. Now, of course, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, yeah, longtime viewer Steve in Virginia is going to invest in an additional $5,000. I think I mentioned that. Yeah, I did mention that. So we're good. So here it is. Your gift will be tripled, and your gift today that might push us over the top of that $250,000 could be the gift. Your call could be the call that unlocks an additional $10,000 and $5,000 for Free Speech TV people. It could be that your contribution, whatever it may be, your $50 contribution could be the thing that pushes us over the top. But it has to happen today. This is the last day of the pledge drive. We are trying to compress these things down to 2 weeks and give you an opportunity to get in there, make your contribution. We'll get out. We'll get back to normal, back to the book reports and other fascinating content rather than just my pitching. But we need your help. We need your cooperation. We need you to make a phone call right now to 877-378-8669 and say, yes, I want to contribute. If you do, there's a bunch of gifts that you can get. With a $20 gift, you have your choice of the Proud Student of Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. By the way, this is the only way you can get these. Or a Take Action, Make History rainbow sticker, or the Free Speech TV Pride Cool Sea drink holder. These are all with a $20 gift. With a $50 gift, there's the Free Speech TV seed bombs, or the Free Speech TV superhero tote bag. With a $75 gift, there's the Free Speech TV official hat, or the official Thom Hartmann Program mug, only available during pledge drives from Free Speech TV. With a $100 gift, you have your choice of the book by Lauren Rankin, Bodies on the Line, at the front line in the fight to protect abortion in America, or the Free Speech TV superhero card set. You can collect all three, Deb Haaland, Kamala Harris, and Ketanji Brown Jackson as superheroes. With a $120 gift, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV superhero water bottle or the Hidden History of Big Brother, my most recent book, autographed by the author. Every book has my signature inside, which dramatically increases its resale value if you're going to put it on eBay years down the road. Probably it'll be worth more after I'm dead, for whatever. $120 gift. It's a pretty good book, too, by the way. I think you'll be shocked by everything that Facebook knows about you, among others. $120 gift. The $240 gift, your choice of coming to or joining us on a Free Speech TV Zoom call, a meet and greet, a virtual meet and greet, or the superhero box set, which includes the tote bag and the cards. The superhero cards, and with a $1,000 gift, there's the meet and greet. But the bottom line, whatever you give now, when you call 877-378-8669 or you go to freespeech.org, whatever you give right now is going to be first doubled and then tripled, all kind of instantly. because of these great frontline funders who have stepped up and said, yes, we're going to do it. Isn't that, I am just so impressed by the people who watch this program, who watch Free Speech TV. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back to our third hour. Lamar Waldron will be with us hopefully in a few moments. We're trying to organize the setup and connection and all that sort of thing. So in the meantime, let's continue Anything Goes Friday. Lowell in Salem, Oregon. Hey, Lowell, what's on your mind today?
Well, first I wanted to remind you that there were 5 Democratic senators that helped block the public option back in 2009.
Yeah, Joe Lieberman was the deciding vote, but you're right.
Exactly. So just to remind you that, and Tom Carper of that list of 5 is still in the Senate. So he's also a blocker to the public option. But anyway, the California universal health care bill failed. And one of the excuses they used was that Medicare didn't have a waiver for states to have their own universal healthcare system. And I want to find out how we can encourage the Democrats to pass that waiver, since they've decided to go with PAYGO to block it at a federal level.
Right.
So maybe encourage.
Right. The way the waiver,
Right.
The way the law is set up right now, because Medicaid can be block granted to states. And then the states take the money and they distribute it however they want. And that's why different states have different eligibility requirements for Medicaid. Medicare, on the other hand, cannot be block granted to states. Medicare, being a federal program, basically connects the federal government to the individual receiving it. So when my Medicare expenses are submitted to Medicare, it's me and the federal government. There's no state of Oregon in the middle. And so the problem is when California wanted to say, okay, we're going to stop, all of these various schemes, insurance and everything else. We're going to stop all that and replace it all with Medicare for all. The state is going to cover everybody's health expenses, and we're going to pay for that with a statewide tax. The problem that they encountered was that there are millions and millions of people in California who are on Medicare. And if those people stopped receiving Medicare payments because they're now on the state program, which is what the state legislation would have done, then that lack of Medicare money coming into the state is a financial disaster for the state. The same thing happened to Vermont, by the way. A friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine, was the HEW secretary in Vermont when Peter Shumlin, the governor, got this passed in Vermont. And they tried to do single payer, and then they discovered that the Medicare law is written the way it is, that all of a sudden the state was going to lose all their Medicare funding, and they just couldn't afford to do single payer. You're absolutely right. It requires a waiver. The federal government has to pass a law that Medicare can give an individual state the ability to continue to receive Medicare payments and simply aggregate them into the state's policy or something. There has to be a way to do that. And the problem is that, in fact, there has been legislation introduced several times in the House, and I believe it's passed the House of Representatives for Medicare waivers. It is consistently and regularly blocked by Republicans in the Senate. So that's where we're at.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, Lowell. Dexter in New York City. Hey, Dexter, what's on your mind today?
All right, how you doing, Tom? I've been listening to you for a long time.
Thank you.
I was calling about H.R. 5905. It's the GI reorganization bill that would give GI benefits to descendants of children of World War II veterans and spouses, and the Democrats haven't moved on it at all. I was wondering why it's still stuck in the Veterans Committee. They haven't moved on it at all.
Uh-huh. And therefore,
they haven't moved on a bill it would give GI benefits to descendants of World War II veterans who were denied the benefits when they came out.
Which is basically African-American World War II veterans.
Yeah. That's what it's geared toward.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
And it's stuck in Chairman Takano's committee. He doesn't want to move on it, it seems like. I don't know what's going on.
It's stuck in the Senate, you mean?
is stuck in the Veterans Affairs Committee.
But you said McConnell. Mitch McConnell, he's a senator now.
Mark Takano out of California.
Okay. My apologies.
But it was introduced also by Senator Warnock out of, in Georgia, too, but they haven't moved on the bill.
Yeah.
It's just stuck in committee. I don't know why the Democrats are holding it up.
Yeah. So, what's the name of the legislation?
It's called, I think, I know it's 5905, the Woodard or Sergeant Woodard legislation. It's called that, something like that. Sergeant Woodard legislation.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. It needs a memorable name, but because I'm trying to figure out, what should we say to people if you're going to call your member of Congress and ask them to do something about this? Do you say, using bill numbers is tough. People don't remember those. Please do something about the legislation that would give GI Bill benefits to the descendants of World War II veterans who were denied it because of their race. Is that a good way to say it?
It was being highlighted on CBS Nightly News. It was highlighted on the news.
Cool. Yeah, well, people should call their members of Congress and advocate for it. Dexter, thanks for flagging that for me. I did not know about it.
Thank you.
I do appreciate it. Thank you. Eileen in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Hey, Eileen, what's on your mind today?
Yeah, Tom, I'm wondering about the conversation came up recently here about the $250 million that President Trump had received for his funding thing.
Right.
And since there's no accountability for that, I'm kind of comparing it to like a GoFundMe page or something. If I do something like that and I get this income, do I have to put it on my IRS, my income tax? Is that considered taxable income?
The way that Trump has done this is he created a super PAC that he's pouring the money into. And super PACs, no, he doesn't have to pay taxes on that money. He would only have to pay taxes when he converts it to income. So, for example, when that super PAC paid Kimberly Guilfoyle $80,000 to give a 2-minute speech introducing her boyfriend, Trump's son, that $80,000 that they paid to her becomes a taxable event, and she has to pay income tax on it. But the people donating to the super PAC don't get a tax deduction. And by the way, the amount of money that Trump has collected so far looks like it's closer to $400 million, or around $385,000, $385 million, excuse me. 250 million of it, the initial 250 million of it, was when he was claiming that it was going to go into a fund to fight, election fraud and all that, and investigate.
Okay. Well, I'm wondering then, can I just open a fund for myself and call it a super PAC? I mean,
you can.
Isn't that supposed to be for an election?
Well, in theory, but no, it doesn't have to be for an election. That would be a campaign fund, would be an election campaign fund. And Stephen Colbert, back in the day when he was still doing the Colbert Report or whatever it was called, did this amazing thing where he got this lawyer on and they opened a super PAC, and he went through all the laws and how it all works and all this kind of stuff. And it was just breathtaking what a scam this thing is. We need to clean this up, Eileen. We really need to. Eileen, thank you for the call. Diana in Columbus, Ohio. Hey, Diana, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. Thanks for taking my call. I was calling about something I think that not a lot of people in the United States have heard about yet. It's called the Save Soil movement. And have you heard about it?
I have.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Yeah, so I was just calling to kind of raise the flag about that.
Is there a particular website or publication that you direct people to?
Yeah, savesoil.org. You can learn all about it there. All kinds of
and the basic premise, if I recall, is our soil has been depleted by our intensive agricultural methods and tillage and all that kind of thing. And B, we not only need to change those methods to clean up our act, but we need to do some remediation fairly quickly to recover our soil.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. And we still, if we start soon, we have time, but it's going to take widespread policy change at the national level.
Yeah.
So we're encouraging people to write to the Biden administration, any kind of policymaker.
I get it. Yeah.
Because it's grim. We can have another Dust Bowl here soon.
I think we're going to. I really do.
The soil is rapidly, we've already lost 52% of our topsoil.
Yep. And look at the drought.
And it's quickly.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
It's 15 minutes past the hour. We'll be back in just a moment. And welcome back. Dwight in Inglewood, California. Hey, Dwight, thanks for watching Free Speech TV. What's on your mind today?
Hello, Tom. Thanks for taking my call. Just a little anecdote about Pat Robertson and the 700 Club when he first came into being.
Mm-hmm.
He used to talk daily about having a day of Jubilee, canceling all debt in the United States.
Oh, interesting. Huh. It is in the Bible.
He probably wouldn't do that today, but he did that early on.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that was before he became a billionaire.
Yeah. So I had a plan for taking over the Democratic Party.
Okay.
Which is you have these progressive groups like National Action Network, Indivisible, and the Poor People's Campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Get all those groups together, have them promote progressive candidates, maybe even the Green Party. Get them on the Democratic primary ballot, and then use their network and infrastructure to promote those candidates. And if you can get enough of them in, you take over the party that way instead of trying.
This is kind of what's happened on the right, Dwight. Is groups like ALEC and actually the Uber groups. Some of the I'm forgetting the name of the big one. It's got such a non-memorable name, but there's that's run basically by the Koch network and the right-wing billionaires, and they kind of coordinate the activity of all the secondary groups that they help fund. The problem on the left is that there isn't one primary funder that's helping all these organizations. So there's no kind of chain of command or line or whatever like that. But
they would have to band together on their own somehow if somebody can pull it off together.
Yeah, I get
But anyway,
it.
that's my plan.
Okay, that's a good one, Dwight. Thank you very much. Diane in Agora Hills, California. Hey, Diane, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you.
So I was wondering, given that Biden is considering executive actions regarding reproductive rights, excuse me, I get nervous.
It's okay.
Given that our right to travel is basic to our liberty rights, how can states restrict travel for people seeking abortion in other states?
They won't restrict the travel, they'll punish the travel. And they're doing it economically with these bounties. So, a couple of states now have passed laws saying that if you rat out a woman who left the state to get an abortion, you can get that $10,000 bounty. You can sue her under the laws of that state.
Isn't that a violation of privacy, though?
I would think it's a violation of all kinds of things, but the U.S. Supreme Court has chosen not to challenge it. They're letting these laws stand. So at least so far. I mean, we'll see what happens when the decision from Alito comes down and see if it, or from the Supreme Court comes down and see if it addresses any larger parts of this. But so far, this novel idea of vigilante justice seems to be prevailing.
It's bizarre.
It is. It really and truly is.
Okay, well, I had something else on my mind, but it just went right out.
Oh, okay, that's okay. We only have 15 seconds anyway. Diane, thank you for the call, and yeah, spot on. It seems, I mean, it just makes perfect sense that a state should not be able to restrict your right of travel. I realize the right to travel is not in the Bill of Rights. There's hundreds of rights, thousands of rights that are not in the Bill of Rights because they're just obvious, right? You would think that they are inherent or intrinsic rights, but apparently not. Okay, Lamar Waldron is going to be with us on the other side of this break, and we are going to get into the hidden history of Watergate. You're going to find this fascinating. Today is the 50th anniversary, so stick around. We'll be right back with my old buddy and writing partner, Lamar Waldron, on his book, Watergate, The Hidden History. Missed my opening rant today? It's usually published over at HartmannReport.com, where you can read it and share it with your friends for free. Check it out, HartmannReport.com. Back during World War I under President Wilson, we had a windfall profits tax on war profiteers, essentially, of 95% above their normal profits. You were allowed to make your normal profits, but when you started making more than that, 95% tax on that income. President Franklin Roosevelt revisited the exact same thing, windfall profits tax, during World War II, saying he didn't want this war to produce any new war millionaires. During the Korean War, Dwight Eisenhower had a windfall profits tax. During the echo of the fall of the Shah of Iran, when all the Iranian oil was taken off the marketplace and the price spiked, President Ronald Reagan imposed a windfall profits tax on the oil and gas industry to stop exploitation of that. Now we have Senator Bernie Sanders in the Senate and Ed Markey as well along with him, and Representative Jamal Bowman in the House saying, let's do the same thing now. There's a whole video about it over at ThomHartmann.com. Check it out. And welcome back. Okay, it is the 50th anniversary of the break-in of the Watergate headquarters, and there's probably a lot you haven't read about in the there is a lot you haven't read about in the Washington Post, including several notorious murders, drug trafficking payoffs to Nixon while he was in the White House. A lot of this has a lot of parallels to a guy named Donald Trump. I'm joined now by my old buddy Lamar Waldron, who is the author of Watergate, The Hidden History, Nixon, the Mafia, and the CIA. Lamar and I co-authored two other books, Ultimate Sacrifice and Legacy of Secrecy. Lamar, welcome to the program. Is it true Nixon was the first person who predicted that Donald Trump was going to be president?
That's exactly right, and that is per Roger Stone, who knew both men, of course, and still knows Trump. And yeah, that's true. That was in the 1980s. They were gotten together. Stone was a Nixon aide, not really involved in Watergate, but Stone had some dealings with Roy Cohn, who was the mouthpiece for Joe McCarthy back in the blacklist days. And so, one thing led to another. Roy Cohn was the mentor for Donald Trump, teaching him all the crooked techniques that really Nixon had developed and perfected. And so Stone and Nixon and Trump all got together. And it was actually Stone that said it was Nixon who predicted that Trump would run and be president someday. And as people will hear today, Trump has used so many techniques perfected by Nixon. And for both men, I'll say this before we launch into a more chronological approach. If you look at both men as being really the head of a crime family, everything makes very much sense about both of those.
Both men being Richard Nixon and Donald Trump. So exactly. Let's start at the beginning, 1946, or even before then. Nixon's ties to the mafia began when he was a teenager?
He was a teenager. Nixon, people remember him, like there was the Oliver Stone movie and stuff where he's kind of this socially awkward guy. That wasn't Nixon at all, not until the last year or so he was in the White House. He was like a popular guy. He was like an Archie comic book type thing in high school. He was good in sports, good on the debate team, good at academics. In fact, he was so good, he was going to get a scholarship to Harvard. But his dad was such a Republican that when Nixon's brother came down with tuberculosis, and they lived in California, they had it pretty good during the Depression. Not Kennedy good, but they owned a grocery store, they had a house, so they were, in pretty good shape during the Republican Depression, as it used to be called. And yet, because the father would not, California had a good public hospital system to take care of tuberculosis patients, which involved really going there for months at a time. Yeah. But Nixon's dad was such a hardcore Republican, he was like, no, that would be some sort of charity. So instead they moved to Arizona. Nixon's scholarship to Harvard only covered like tuition. It didn't cover like living expenses and stuff. And they spent so much money taking care of the brother with TB that could have been paid for free in California that Nixon was not able to go to Harvard. And then it got worse than that. The guy who was the guy in his high school graduating class and going to go to Harvard and become part of the Eastern elites, he wound up as the janitor at a country club.
Nixon?
And Nixon did, and he hated that. Imagine you're having to clean toilets for these people that you were going to be superior to. This is like in Scottsdale, Arizona. Right. But now you're cleaning their toilets. But this carnival would come. It would be like a big rodeo days kind of thing in Scottsboro, the Old West and everything. And for a couple weeks or more, there would be like these rodeos, and there would be like this carnival, and there would be all these sideshows and carny games and everything. And Nixon apparently, begged. He had no experience in that, to be allowed to run one of the crooked carnival games. Now, these carnival games were basically owned out of Las Vegas. Okay, so like a Las Vegas mobster would come, get everything set up, and then he'd check back occasionally, and and the guy running the game, he'd basically get a small percentage of what he could do. But Nixon was a good learner. Nixon learned how to fleece the rubes, not only how to fleece the rubes, but how to fleece the rubes, have them enjoy it so much they would not only come back the next night to get fleeced again, but they would bring their friends to get fleeced. I mean, literally just like Donald Trump.
So we just have a minute to the break. How did that connect Nixon to the mafia?
Well, the mafia was running those games. That's where he learned that. And then Nixon, apparently, in their downtime, they learned poker. And so when Nixon was in he learned, techniques, shall we say, with poker. Nixon was an officer in the Navy in World War II, and he fleeced all of his fellow officers and enlisted men in poker. But again, they all thought he was a great guy. So that's the trick, learning how to fleece people and get away with it, and they even like it. And so then we get to 46, and of course the mafia, they wind up helping Nixon get elected to Congress the first time. A mafia attorney for Mickey Cohen, who was the big mobster in L.A. at the time, was Nixon's campaign manager.
Whoa.
So that gets us to 46, and then we're going to get into the 50s and 60s, and it's just more mob all the time, and more murders, too.
Whoa. It is the Watergate, The Hidden History is the title of Lamar Waldron's book, Nixon, the Mafia, and the CIA. It's the 50th anniversary of Watergate. We're going to do a deep dive here. We'll continue on the other side of this break. Stick around. It's going to get really interesting.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Call your friends and tell them to tune in. You're going to love this. Stick around. It's the last day, the very last day, your very last chance to contribute to Free Speech TV. Seriously, let me say it again. It's the last day. It's your very last chance. And boy, do I have a special for you. Imagine that your $10 gift becomes not $20, but $30. But wait, there's more. Your $100 gift becomes not $200, but $300. And not only that, your $200 gift or your $100 gift can become $200 and then become $300, and then on top of that, it might be the thing that kicks us into another $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000. Here's how it all works. Number one, longtime viewer Steve in Virginia has said that he called Free Speech TV yesterday and said, if you guys hit your goals for the week, for the 2-week fundraising drive here, the $250,000 goal, the $250,000 goal. If you hit that, which is not a lot of money, if you guys hit that goal, I will contribute an additional $5,000. Thank you, Steve. And then we also have another match from that we've had all along from Frontline Funders Mike and Andrew, both out of California. That if we hit our goal, they'll put in another $10,000 to Free Speech TV. But then on top of that, Frontline Funders Sandy in New Mexico. So first of all, we've got the $50,000 match from that long list of people that I've been reading to you all week. We've got the $50,000 match from those great Frontline Funders. Thank you again to all of you. So that takes your $10 gift becomes $20, or your $50 gift becomes $100. But then on top of that, Sandy in New Mexico says, I'll match up to $10,000. So your $10 gift becomes $20 with the match, with the match from the whole bunch of funders, and then it becomes $30 with the match from Sandy. So your contribution today is tripled. Tripled. It's amazing, right? It's a good thing. It's a really good thing. We need these. And we've got to hit this goal. And we are behind, by the way. So there's a certain amount of urgency here We need you to be a superhero, please, and pitch in. Now, of course, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, yeah, longtime viewer Steve in Virginia is going to invest in an additional $5,000. I think I mentioned that. Yeah, I did mention that. So we're good. So here it is. Your gift will be tripled, and your gift today that might push us over the top of that $250,000 could be the gift. Your call could be the call that unlocks an additional $10,000 and $5,000 for Free Speech TV people. It could be that your contribution, whatever it may be, your $50 contribution could be the thing that pushes us over the top. But it has to happen today. This is the last day of the pledge drive. We are trying to compress these things down to 2 weeks and give you an opportunity to get in there, make your contribution. We'll get out. We'll get back to normal, back to the book reports and other fascinating content rather than just my pitching. But we need your help. We need your cooperation. We need you to make a phone call right now to 877-378-8669 and say, yes, I want to contribute. If you do, there's a bunch of gifts that you can get with a $20 gift. You have your choice of the Proud Student of Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. By the way, this is the only way you can get these. Or a Take Action, Make History rainbow sticker, or the Free Speech TV Pride Cool Sea drink holder. These are all with a $20 gift. With a $50 gift, there's the Free Speech TV seed bombs or the Free Speech TV superhero tote bag. With a $75 gift, there's the Free Speech TV official hat or the official Thom Hartmann Program mug, only available during pledge drives from Free Speech TV. With a $100 gift, you have your choice of the book by Lauren Rankin, Bodies on the Line, at the front line in the fight to protect abortion in America, or the Free Speech TV superhero card set. You can collect all three, Deb Haaland, Kamala Harris, and Ketanji Brown Jackson as superheroes. With a $120 gift, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV superhero water bottle or the Hidden History of Big Brother, my most recent book, autographed by the author. Every book has my signature inside, which dramatically increases its resale value if you're going to put it on eBay years down the road. Probably it'll be worth more after I'm dead, for whatever. $120 gift. It's a pretty good book, too, by the way. I think you'll be shocked by everything that Facebook knows about you, among others. $120 gift. The $240 gift, your choice of coming to or joining us on a Free Speech TV Zoom call, a meet and greet, a virtual meet and greet, or the superhero box set, which includes the tote bag and the cards. The superhero cards, and with a $1,000 gift, there's the meet and greet. But the bottom line, whatever you give now, when you call 877-378-8669 or you go to freespeech.org, whatever you give right now is going to be first doubled and then tripled, all kind of instantly, because of these great frontline funders who have stepped up and said, yes, we're going to do it. Isn't that, I'm just so impressed by the people who watch this program, who watch Free Speech TV. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you. Our 1-hour free podcast recaps our show, and it's available wherever fine podcasts are found. And we have the full 3-hour podcast available over at ThomHartmann.com if you want to really support our program. The Houston Chronicle just published a blistering editorial calling out Republican Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, saying, Texas lawmakers won't even pass universal background checks to keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people, even though 80% of Texans support them. They go on to say Texas had 1 million registered weapons in 2021, more than second place Florida and third place Virginia combined. The United States leads all wealthy nations with its gun murder rate. At the end of it, they say, we call on Abbott, whose campaign war chest is comfortably overflowing in his re-election bid against Democrat Beto O'Rourke, to replenish his bankrupt conscience and do something, anything, to stop the blood of children and the tears of parents. This is the entire editorial board of the Houston Chronicle calling out Greg Abbott. Got a video about the whole thing over at thomhartmann.com. Check it out. And welcome back. Lamar Waldron, author of Watergate, The Hidden History, Nixon, the Mafia, and the CIA, is with us. And Lamar, we established before the break here at the bottom of the hour that Nixon's ties with the Mafia began when he was a teenager. In 1946, the Mafia helped him get elected to Congress, which takes us up to, I think, 1954, right?
Well, he gets reelected to Congress, again with the help of the Mafia. Then he gets elected to the Senate, and then he's selected as Eisenhower's running mate, even though Eisenhower didn't really like Nixon. And so the first murders, I think we can pin on Nixon, because there were some dirty campaigns, but there weren't murders involved, was in 1954, and the Guatemala coup to
so he's vice
depose
president
democratically.
now, right? Because it was 52 when Ike ran for president. So 54, Nixon's been vice president for 2 years now.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And he's lied about, his slush funds and all that stuff. So he's, and Ike didn't like getting his hands dirty with this stuff. So just like would happen with Cuba in a few years, Ike lets, and Nixon loved to, do things that involved killing people. And so Nixon, had a pretty big hand. Nixon didn't get to do a lot as vice president, but that was one thing. Eisenhower was fine letting him do a lot of that. And so the CIA basically, if you look in CIA-approved history books, you'll see that it was mainly a pretty much bloodless coup, and they used publicity and public relations, including a CIA writer by the name of E. Howard Hunt.
This is in Guatemala.
This is in Guatemala in '54, and E. Howard Hunt was involved. But that's the CIA version that was sold to American newspapers and magazines, and they ate it up because professional authors like E. Howard Hunt were literally writing this stuff up for them. What actually happened is there was an assassination list, because you can't just overthrow a democratically elected government with publicity and public relations. You can tell people you did, but so there was an assassination list, and it still exists as a document. I believe it has between 80 and 100 names on it. And the last time I checked, which was only a few years ago, the CIA was still keeping almost all the names on that list secret because, of course, if we had those names, we would know, oh, this guy was assassinated, that guy. So Nixon loved that, and they installed a brutal dictator in place of the democratically elected government. And so flash ahead now to 1960. The only thing Nixon's really been allowed to do since Guatemala is deal with Cuba, deal with Castro, because Eisenhower, who had a heart attack, and so he didn't want to deal with that. So Nixon had messed up his meeting in Washington with Fidel Castro, who was literally begging for U.S. help because Batista, the dictator who had been very close to Richard Nixon, had stolen basically most of the Cuban treasury. But instead of saying, okay, we'll give you guys some aid so your people won't starve, Nixon lectured him. So that didn't work out. So Nixon basically turned to the only labor leader that supported him in America, Jimmy Hoffa, and said, look, Jimmy, can you talk to your mafia friends and I'll get the CIA involved and I'll say arm's length and you guys just kill Fidel Castro and we'll put the dictator back in power.
Now, in part, wasn't this because this was 1960? Nixon was running for president against Jack Kennedy, and Kennedy was beating him up badly in the press because in '59 Nixon had basically let Cuba go communist. He had blown off Castro, as you just pointed out.
Well. So the plots with Hoffa started in '59. By the summer of '60, they had not produced results. So Nixon said, "Screw it." He started meeting with E. Howard Hunt regularly at CIA headquarters, and Nixon said, "Look, I want the CIA to deal directly. We'll do something nice for Hoffa, but you guys deal directly with the mafia and Santo Trafficante, the godfather of Southern Miami, and with Casino. He's the guy you need to get to." And so basically Nixon ordered the CIA to work with the mafia so that Castro would be dead before the election. JFK was really young compared to Nixon and relatively inexperienced. Nixon was certain that if U.S. Marines were in Cuba protecting the many Americans who lived and vacationed there, that America would not go with the unproven senator. They would stick with the 8-year vice president. But there was another part of the deal, too. Hoffa was close to getting prosecuted because the Kennedys came to prominence by going after Hoffa and his mafia allies. So Nixon was tight with the mafia. So basically Nixon says, look, we'll stall the prosecution on Hoffa till I get elected president. If you guys, Sano Traficante and Carlos Marcello from New Orleans and Sam Giancana from Chicago, you guys give me $1 million, I'll stall, because basically the mafia was using Hoffa's Teamster pension fund like their piggy bank.
This was the Sun Valley land deal, right, where Jimmy Hoffa was using union funds to enrich himself?
That was one of the things. That was the thing he was closest to being prosecuted on, but there was so much more.
Right.
And so, but yeah, Sun Valley was, and so basically it was a package deal. It's like, look, mobster godfathers, you give me $1 million, I'll stall the prosecution on Hoffa till I get elected, then it'll just go away. And by the way, you worked with the CIA and kill Fidel right before the election.
Right.
Great plan, except it didn't work because the mafia knew if they killed Castro gangland style, the way Nixon and the CIA wanted them to, the Cuban people would never let them reopen their casinos. And by the way, myth that Castro shut down on the casinos, they never reopened again. Yeah, they shut down for a few weeks, but they reopened. Guess who Castro put in charge of being the intermediary between the casinos and him after he reopened them in 1959? Frank Sturgis, who would also become a Watergate burglar.
Whoa.
So Frank Sturgis eventually fled Cuba, and so basically in the fall of 1960, the CIA assigns E. Howard Hunt as kind of he's not like the official guy in charge, but he's the behind-the-scenes guy in charge, and they give him Frank Sturgis, who had been working for the CIA even while he was in the mountains fighting with Fidel Castro, and a guy named Bernard Barker, who had done some CIA work but had been working for Traficante and the Mafia since 1949.
Another Watergate
burglar. Two mobsters working with E. Howard Hunt on Nixon's plan. But as everyone knows, Nixon lost the election, which he secretly had the RNC try to contest, just like Trump. And Nixon was saying, and they really did try to overturn, like Hawaii and some other states. Nixon still thought for a while after the election he could still become president, but he got his revenge on JFK in two ways. He had Eisenhower shut the Cuban embassy right before JFK was sworn in, and that's where the CIA based all their spies, right? Was in the embassy, and Nixon, nor Eisenhower, nor the CIA director, or any of the high officials told JFK about the CIA mafia plots, which continued without the president or his attorney general brother even knowing about them. That resulted in the whole Bay of Pigs fiasco because, again, the mafia did not kill Fidel right before the Bay of Pigs invasion. That may have been the fault of E. Howard Hunt, as the book explains. And so, so there's one murder that didn't happen, was Fidel's, but that was not for lack of trying from Nixon. So then Nixon, he makes up with Hoffa and buys a house from him essentially in Southern California. Nixon runs for governor of California, but because once backstage he got too comfortable with reporters and revealed that he regarded his supporters, his working and blue-collar and middle-class supporters as yokels, literally yokels. And he trusted the reporters so much he thought they wouldn't write about it, and one of them did. So he lost. So then flash ahead to 63. Nixon is all through the newspapers in 63. You would swear he's going to run for president in 64. And as you had said before, Kennedy had been beating up on Nixon in 1960 over letting Cuba go communist, essentially, right? Roles are reversed in 1963. A little thing called the Cuban Missile Crisis had happened in 62. And Castro had not allowed UN weapons inspections for weapons of mass destruction. And so there was no pledge in place not to invade Cuba. That pledge was something later made by President Nixon. And so basically the Republicans were now beating up on JFK for not doing anything about Cuba, and that was only going to get worse in 64. But JFK had a plan that you and I talked extensively about back in November. Anyone who wants to know more about it can listen to an hour and a half's worth of that. And basically, JFK was going to use the head of the Cuban army, the number 3 man in Cuba, was going to overthrow Fidel Castro, basically kill Fidel Castro on December the 1st, 1963, about 10 days after JFK got back from his trip to Dallas. Right. Nixon, we know from CIA files, learned about this secret coup plan. The mafia was barred from it, but several mobsters, including Bernard Barker and Frank Sturgis, actually worked on the secret coup plan.
Again,
we'll talk about
Bernard Barker and Frank Sturgis were Watergate burglars, too, along with Howard Hunt.
Exactly.
Wow. The hidden Watergate, the hidden history, Nixon, the Mafia, and the CIA with Lamar Waldron. We will continue in just a moment.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Lamar's book, and it's a doorstop, but it's brilliant, is Watergate, the hidden history, Nixon, the Mafia, and the CIA by Lamar Waldron. So, Lamar, continuing the story.
Well, so 3 other names that you'll want to remember, and your listeners, were also involved with the coup plan. That was James McCord, also one of the Watergate burglars and head of security for the Nixon Reelection Committee in 1972. But at this time, he was a big wig in security for the CIA. Alexander Haig, who was a colonel at that time, and a guy by the name of Alexander Butterfield, who was in the later stages of the coup plan.
And who's the guy who revealed the taping system in the White House?
Exactly. And Alexander Haig would later become Nixon's chief of staff.
Right.
But we won't go into any more about the coup plan. Mafia infiltrated it, used parts of it to kill JFK in a way that forced the government, including Robert Kennedy, to cover up so much, which continues today.
Right.
So let's go ahead now to 1968. Robert Kennedy is assassinated not by Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon had nothing to do with Robert Kennedy's assassination. However, Nixon's mafia allies, like Jimmy Hoffa and Carlos Marcello and Johnny Roselli, were involved. Okay, and that's in the book as well. Now, as you have talked about on your program many times, Nixon then committed treason to win the 1968 election, causing 20,000 additional U.S. deaths of our troops and medical personnel, and probably many times that of Vietnamese deaths.
An estimated 1 million additional Vietnamese deaths.
So he's got blood on his hands from that. So now let's flash ahead. But Nixon wins, right? He whatever it took to win, he would do it. So now we're in the winter, spring of 71. Johnny Roselli reveals to America's top journalist at that time, Jack Anderson, who has a column that's in all the leading papers, about the CIA mafia plots, leaving out pretty much only Richard Nixon's role in them. So that's a sword of Damocles. Roselli's getting ready to be sent off to prison. He's not even a citizen, so he's liable to be deported. So that's why he's leaking to Jack Anderson. People have heard that the Plumbers, the White House, criminal group, was formed over the Pentagon Papers that Daniel Ellsberg leaked. Totally not true, because even before Nixon knew about the leak, in April of 1971, E. Howard Hunt was down in Miami at a Bay of Pigs reunion recruiting Frank Sturgis, Bernard Barker, and other Cuban exiles who all had been involved in the CIA mafia plots. So the Plumbers were formed to keep a lid on the CIA mafia plots, not over the Pentagon Papers. Now, that summer, the Plumbers' first big break-in, and by the way, Nixon wanted to blow up. People have heard of the Brookings Institute, this think tank in Washington. Nixon was ready to have the Plumbers just blow that up. If people died, he didn't care.
Wow.
But he was talked out of that. But Daniel Ellsberg had a close female friend when he was in Vietnam who was the daughter of one of the CIA supervisors for the CIA mafia plots in 1963. Nixon and Hunt worried that she might have heard about the plots from her father and shared them with her very close friend, Daniel Ellsberg. And by the way, Frances Fitzgerald later became a very, very acclaimed writer. So she was a brilliant woman. So yeah, it would make sense. Her dad might have shared that. He was dead by then. So that's why they broke into Daniel Ellsberg's psychiatrist. Now you need to ask yourself, what would have happened if they had been discovered by someone?
Yeah.
And you had 2 mafia killers, Bernard Barker and Frank Sturgis, on that burglary team. And I think somebody could have been killed if they had been discovered burglarizing the office of Daniel Ellsberg, psychiatrist.
Wow. We'll continue in just a moment. Stick around. Hey, I've got a new book out. It's called The Hidden History of Big Brother in America, How the Death of Privacy and the Rise of Surveillance Threaten Us and Our Democracy. Available wherever you find fine books. An amazing new report out from the Global Alliance on Health and Pollution suggesting that pollution is causing around 9 million premature deaths around the world, but 4.5 million of those are the consequence of outdoor air pollution, and the major contributor to that outdoor air pollution is cars and trucks. It turns out that cars and trucks that burn fossil fuels produce little teeny tiny particles. They're called PM 2.5 because they're smaller than 2.5 microns, essentially microscopic, that bury themselves deep inside your lungs and then migrate to the heart, the brain. They cause damage throughout the body. They can even cause lung cancer and heart disease and things. And guess what? Electric cars produce none of this. Also, when you hit the brakes on a regular car, you're burning your brake pads and throwing particles out into the air. On an electric car, you hit the brakes, you're slowing it down with the motors. There's a video about the whole thing over at ThomHartmann.com. Check it out. And welcome back. Lamar Waldron is with us. Lamar, we were just recapping. We're up to the 1970s, I believe, and we've got Frank Sturgis and Bernard Barker, two mafia killers who were also Watergate burglars that have just broken into Daniel Ellsberg's office. Where do we go from here?
Well, and then just a few months after that, Nixon forms his own little White House anti-drug group, and guess who he puts on it? Two men still working for Santo Trafficante, America's largest heroin trafficker. Barker and Sturgis are on the White House anti-drug group. In the meantime, there's a huge opioid epidemic in America, especially among servicemen returning from Vietnam and Southeast Asia, because there is what you can read in plenty of newspaper accounts, congressional investigations, something called the Service Club scandal, where they were literally getting heroin in the service clubs where they would go for rest and recreation. But
and
it's
it was
worse
mafia heroin, right?
Well, it was mafia heroin. And by the way, Nixon Nixon's his top aide at that time, John Ehrlichman, later admitted Nixon's whole war on drug was just a political thing to, right. Because blacks and young people weren't going to vote for Nixon anyway. So that's all a sham, obviously. But Nixon was getting monthly payoffs from Santo Trafficante's Southeast heroin associates, which was later confirmed by Al Haig himself. So Nixon's literally getting these monthly payoffs. Every U.S. serviceman who got hooked over there and then died of an overdose here, or had their life shortened or committed suicide because of their addiction, that blood is on the hands of Richard Nixon. But Nixon, again, whatever it takes, December 71, he gets a new $1 million bribe from the mafia, Trafficante and Marcello, to release Jimmy Hoffa from prison, but with the proviso Hoffa can't become president of the Teamsters again for 10 years, because the soft guy, Frank Fitzsimmons, who replaced Hoffa, is much easier for the mafia to deal with. So everything just ramps up. He's got all this money from the mafia. They get these dirty tricks teams, which are really political felony teams. They get rid of the first three people that Nixon does not want to run against: Edwin Muskie, Senator Scoop Jackson, and moderate North Carolina Governor Terry Sanford, because Nixon wants to run for McGovern, and he's worried Humphrey or Ted Kennedy might jump into the last minute. And then they get some horrible news, and that is that Fidel Castro has prepared a dossier of all the CIA attempts that he knows about of the CIA attempts to try to kill Fidel, all the assassination attempts, and the Chilean embassy in Washington has a copy of that. Okay, so literally a document that could end Nixon's career, and if the bribe is mentioned in there, send him to prison, is in the embassy of the socialist Chilean embassy in Washington. So guess what Nixon has the plumbers do? And this is Frank Sturgis admitted this. You won't find this in any Watergate book except for mine, just about. They burglarized the Chilean embassy. They don't get the dossier, but apparently they find a page or two or references to it. So they're really worried. Now, right after that, there is a plan to kill Daniel Ellsberg that Ellsberg has talked about, where these two mafia guys, Sturgis and Barker, were going to stage some sort of provocation at a big demonstration, and Ellsberg swears to this day he thinks he was going to be murdered by them, and Ellsberg thought that without even knowing the mafia background of Sturgis and Barker. I think Ellsberg is exactly right. So now the worry is, have the Chileans given this secret dossier of assassination attempts and maybe the bribes to the Democratic National Committee? That's why there are 4 attempts to burglarize the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate. 2 are successful, at least as far as getting into the office. Of course, the 4th one goes awry. They had enough film to take 1,000 photographs. Everyone on the team in the Watergate had been part of the CIA mafia plots in one form or another, including the Cuban exiles.
So they were trying to cover up their own attempts to assassinate Castro for Nixon's political benefit.
Exactly. And then to flip that on its head, the night after the assassination, one of the arresting officers...
Of Jack Kennedy.
Of the break-in.
Oh, the night
after the break-in, one of the officers who had arrested them in the DNC offices, a guy named Schaffler, goes to talk to Frank Sturgis. And Frank Sturgis is literally about to have a heart attack. He says, look, I've been working for the mafia. I'm still working for the mafia. They're going to kill me. Santo Trafficante, he's best friends with the godfather, Joe Nessline of Washington. I'm going to die. You got to do something. I'm going to be killed.
We got to wrap it up, Lamar.
Well, and so basically, let's flash ahead to the people who were killed. Jimmy Hoffa dropped dime on Johnny Roselli, who was talked to by the Senate Watergate Committee. Johnny Roselli would later be killed after testifying before a Senate committee in 1976.
And Nixon had something to do with all of these. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we just have to end it there, Lamar. I'm sorry. But thanks so much. The book is Watergate, The Hidden History, Nixon, the Mafia, and the CIA by Lamar Waldron. And thanks so much for being with us. Have a great weekend. Get out there, get active, tag You're It. We'll see you on Monday.
You've been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit ThomHartmann.com.
It's the last day, the very last day, your very last chance to contribute to Free Speech TV. Seriously, let me say it again. It's the last day. It's your very last chance. And boy, do I have a special for you. Imagine that your $10 gift becomes not $20, but $30. But wait, there's more. Your $100 gift becomes not $200, but $300. And not only that, your $200 gift or your $100 gift can become $200 and then become $300. And then on top of that, it might be the thing that kicks us into another $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000. Here's how it all works. Number one, longtime viewer Steve in Virginia has said that he called Free Speech TV yesterday and said, if you guys hit your goals for the week, for the 2-week fundraising drive here, the $250,000 goal, the $250,000 goal, if you hit that, which is not a lot of money, if you guys hit that goal, I will contribute an additional $5,000. Thank you, Steve. And then we also have another match from, that we've had all along that from, let's see, Frontline Funders Mike and Andrew, both out of California, that if we hit our goal, they'll put in another $10,000 to Free Speech TV. But then on top of that, Frontline Funders Sandy in New Mexico. So first of all, we've got the $50,000 match from that long list of people that I've been reading to you all week. We've got the $50,000 match from those great Frontline Funders. Thank you again to all of you. So that takes your $10 gift becomes $20, or your $50 gift becomes $100. But then on top of that, Sandy in New Mexico says, I'll match up to $10,000. So your $10 gift becomes $20 with the match, with the match from the whole bunch of funders, and then it becomes $30 with the match from Sandy. So your contribution today is tripled. Tripled. It's amazing, right? It's a good thing. It's a really good thing. We need these. And we've got to hit this goal. And we are behind, by the way. So there's a certain amount of urgency here. We need you to be a superhero, please.